One. Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. It's the Age of Sigmar Monday show, which happens around 7-ish p.m. GMT-ish every Monday-ish, depending on travel. And this Monday we're live, which is great. This is actually part one of a two-parter, and I'm joined by James, the Lord of the Ring. How are you, James?
The 9th Lord of the Ring now, I think.
Yeah, one of the 9.
One of the 9.
Ring rates.
Definitely can kill a dragon with a 10-point upgrade.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I can't wait to talk
That's what
about
I learned
that.
this weekend.
That's what, yeah. Correct. And then Nathan, how you been doing?
I've been doing grand, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah?
All good. Yeah, just same old, same old. Played a game of Warhammer against you last week.
Yes,
last week, sometime.
We did.
Last week.
Yes, we did.
Beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. That was fun.
Yeah. It was good. You got to see the squigs, and I got to see loads of pink horrors.
Who's more bored of Nathan? Who's more bored? Like, are you bored of seeing pink horrors yet? Because I'm still weirdly not bored of seeing goblins.
Really? Seeing pink horrors?
Perfect start to the show.
It's fine. Yeah. And I still like seeing squigs and all sorts of other things.
I love seeing
Are you
squigs.
sure you still like seeing squigs?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. Some have gone on pre-order this weekend, haven't they? This week.
The Squiggalanch. So yeah, you're talking about the Christmas box that they put out. The Squiggalanch actually sold out.
Oh no, I'm talking about the Underworlds band have gone on pre-order.
Oh,
I think they're going on pre-order this coming weekend.
Yes, you're talking about the new section.
Yeah, they've got a squig on a stick and a squig with a dude riding on it with a hammer lance.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Which is a great way to use a lance. Hammer lance.
So what Nathan is talking about, what Nathan is pointing out, is that if anyone hasn't keep track, that they're on pre-order. So there's a game called, some people may know it, called Underworlds. It's not actually. I don't know if it's that popular. Is it that popular, Underworlds, anymore, James?
No idea. Literally no idea. It was the one I never played because he had a load of cards and I couldn't be bothered.
It has a lot of cards.
I think they've tidied up the card side, from what I've heard.
Well,
made it so you don't need so many of them.
The new goblins are out for it, basically, or they're on pre-order. So
yeah, they'll be on pre-order this weekend coming, I think.
Oh, this weekend coming. Yes, that's the one. So it's going to be pretty good. So yeah, they're out. Okay, all right, let's find out how everyone's doing. James, you've been playing Lord of the Rings this weekend. Catch us up. How's that been going?
Yeah. Actual hobby update. This weekend,
before we do that, can I just let everyone know what the show's about, and then we'll crack on. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just 18 minutes in or whatever it is. Hello. Today's show is we're going to be looking at the Mortal Realms. James has been playing Lord of the Rings this weekend. That's what he's about to talk to us about. But in Lord of the Rings, your characters, your heroes, your conquistadors, although problematic, swashbucklers, noble elves, and doughty dwarfs are mighty heroes upon the game. James, correct?
Yeah. Or some are more so than others.
However, unfortunately, in Age of Sigmar, I would say the duelist role, if you kind of want to think about it like that, the swashbuckler, the fencer, the screamador, for example, the skirmisher, doesn't really exist very often in a lot of factions. So we're going to go through most of them today. We're going to describe together whether or not we're going to hit them or quit them, and then in part 2, which will be some point recorded before Christmas, we will make a tier list of the best duelists in the Mortal Realms to be decided on by the Twitch chat and also me, Nathan, and James. How's that sound?
Yeah. So what? It's like a hero on foot.
Yeah, hero on foot. Can't be cavalry. Yeah, doesn't count. I would say can't be monstrous, but I've kind of let the Trog boss in.
Oh, favoritism.
He's not a monster anyway.
Well, exactly. So I feel like no cavalry. It's got to be on foot, and the Trog boss kind of counts. So Trog boss down is what I'm saying. But Mire Brute Troggoth, they're completely out because that's a cavalry unit.
Oh yeah, so it's
Yeah.
definitely cavalry.
Yeah. So that's
That is
what
one
we're gonna-
mounted trog.
and hopefully the show will point out, and maybe through humour. Who knows? Maybe we'll tell some jokes. Yeah, we'll point out that they haven't really necessarily nailed down that role in a lot of battle tomes for some units in the game that you would expect to be more melee-centric. And then hopefully, based on James's kind of playing of Lord of the Rings, we'll also get some sort of like context for what having more melee-centric characters in a game may do to a game, because that would be really fun to discuss. So yeah, there's going to be loads. Like Sigvald's a good example of one that's probably going to make it. We're probably going to hit Sigvald and not quick Sigvald, because he's got those chaps on. So you're definitely going to hit them, Nathan.
Yeah, they're definitely hittable.
They are. Okay, so
Good old slappity slap, chappity chap.
yeah, like absolutely whacking a big bit of ham is what we're going to do. But before we do that, I'm going to see how Nathan and James are and catch everyone up with the news. James
was telling us about.
Yeah, go for it, baby. Tell us what's going on.
Cool, yeah. So I had a fairly busy week. So last week, on the last week's show, I was painting. I think I painted Radagast, if memory serves me right, last week. So that was for an event. This weekend just gone, so I went to Warhammer World and played my first ever Middle-earth strategy battle game event, which was a Throne of Skulls. It was at Warhammer World, and it was fun. It was my first event in 6 months, I think, of any game system.
Cool.
It was good. So I spent the weekend.
This is you coming out of retirement.
Well, kind of.
Okay, so like, describe to me where you're at in your career.
Very retired.
Are you Tyson just released from prison, or are you Tyson now ready, like, and fully trained up, ready to get in the ring?
I'm probably going back to prison. It's almost Christmas.
Your Tyson's still in prison. Okay.
Yeah, probably still in prison. No, it was good. It was good. I forgot how like knackering 2 days is. So like, like some self-inflicted pain. I stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning the night before I went playing Darktide, and then
pressing that same one button for like 45 minutes.
That same one button, trying to win, and then we went to Warhammer World. Then I played 3 games of a game I'd only played. So I worked it out before I got to the first table because I was trying to be super honest. So my first opponent, I was like, just so you're aware, this is my 7th game of this ever and my 2nd game ever with this army.
And what did he say?
And he went, oh, that's okay. This is like my 12th game. I was like, excellent. Here we go.
You assume, because of, I don't know what happened to my voice again. I think I'm hitting puberty finally. You assume that because of the new Lord of the Rings series, that Lord of the Rings, the tabletop miniature war game experience, may well be getting a bit of like popularity, an increase in popularity. Yep. Do you feel that, James? Is that what inspired you?
No, I think I've always liked it, and I played a bit, and I like the models. And we all like the world probably because that's why we're all like into fantasy in the first place. But I think, maybe seeing the world again made me pick it back up. But I also think like the few games I had played, I was like, this rule system's really tight. It plays far enough away from, I think, Games Workshop's other games. Like I've said before, I know in the past when I've played 40k, I'm always like, this feels like I'm playing bad Age of Sigmar. Whereas I feel like when I'm playing Middle-earth strategy battle game, I'm always like, oh, I feel like I'm playing not a Games Workshop game or like not their standard game. So I think that's nice too, because I think playing a game and being like, I could be playing a game that's similar but better almost seems like a waste of time. Whereas like playing a game and being like, oh, this is different was nice.
That's great. That's great. Talk to me about the crowd. What's the crowd like? Are they all like, I assume, young people who have been into the Lord of the Rings franchise for years and dressed up as elves, and not a bunch of like tree bits, or like a nice dynamic mix? What was the crowd like?
It was a good mix.
Oh yeah.
It was a Throne of Skulls. I would say that 30% of the people there don't know what a Throne of Skulls is.
Okay.
And so for anyone in the chat that doesn't know what a Throne of Skulls is, so Throne of Skulls is one of Warhammer World's like own official event names, and it basically is an event where 50% of your score comes from what you do in the event, and 50% comes from being like sporting and painting well, at this one at least.
Mm-hmm.
And some people didn't seem to get that memo, or didn't read a pack, or didn't know that. But it was in the pack because I checked on the second day, just because I was like, oh, maybe they changed this.
It's one of their brands, right? Like that I think
Yeah.
actually is a really important thing to kind of like talk about for like the gaming community, because I think a lot of the gaming community sometimes feel maybe like gang pressed into like being at a tournament. Like you're like, oh, there's a tournament close to me, but the TO I have just likes it to be 2000 point Age of Sigmar standard, or they just want it to be like pretty, like pretty competitive Age of Sigmar, which is super fair. Like it's a way to do it. So if you don't have those variety of different formats, Games Workshop don't do a great job of explaining Throne of Skulls as a format out, very much like the rest they do. And it's a really great format. It's really good. Nathan, didn't you win Throne of Skulls?
No, you did.
Oh yeah, nailed it. Fucking great combo there. I love that. Thanks.
You bastard.
But yeah, Throne of Skulls is really good because it's a casual format where you can really just say to yourself, I'm going to have a fun time, and hopefully make other people have a fun time, which is kind of a key part, right? Nate, did you actually play in a Throne of Skulls though? Have you done that?
Yeah.
We played in the same one, right?
Yeah, I played it, that one.
What did you think of Throne of Skulls as a format compared to like normal tournaments?
I like it. Yeah, 50. So it's 50% soft scores, which are painting and player voting for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes it's even more. It used to be just based on that, didn't it? But now they do include some score for winning your games as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had some real good games in that. Yeah.
I had some really great games as well. Like it was.
Yeah, I took dwarves to that. Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember.
That was probably the last time I played with dwarves. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
They were great. James, so Lord of the Rings Throne of Skulls. Like, what's the format? What's the GT format for Lord of the Rings?
So Lord of the Rings has like a GT setup in the form of a book. So like all the other games, but I don't think it's changed in several years. So the book, there's like battle plans, as we would call them. I think they're called missions. Can't remember. Scenarios, maybe. Don't know. But they're like other game systems that Games Workshop makes. So there's a book and there's missions in the book, and 5 are given you to you throughout the day, and you play to a points level. So I think GT level, Mesba is 750, but for Throne of Skulls they did 1,000 points on a 6x4 map, and you played 5 missions from the mission book, and then you had these cards that are in the back of the book that are like secondary objectives as we would know them. So before a game you pick 3 face down on a table, and then your opponent picks one of them but never knows what it is. You know what it is, and you have a secret objective to do during the game. So it's like kill all their wizards, or don't let your hero get stabbed, or sit in a forest by the end of the game, that sort of stuff. So a bit like probably stuff we see in Age of Sigmar.
Like a grand strategy.
Yeah.
Grand strategy, but one that's hidden. That's quite cool.
Yeah. And then the weirdest thing about Middle-earth, which probably took me 4 out of 5 games to get my head around, was basically that every mission scores a maximum of 12 points. So you can't score more than 12.
Yeah.
And you don't score until the game ends.
So you don't count any scoring until the end of the game.
Nothing is counted until the very end of the game.
But how do you know how you're doing?
You don't. I learned. I guess if you played loads, maybe you do. But like in my second game, without like going through the whole event, like I got stumped. Like I lost probably 75 to 80% of my army, and he lost 2 models. And I was like, well, I've definitely lost. And then at the end, when we were counting points, it was, it's 7-4, which is a minor victory to him, which still gave me points, like tournament points.
Oh, okay.
So that's weird because you're playing a game, but you don't score until the end. And I guess if you played the battles continually, you'd have a rough idea of how those work. But like as someone who'd played like 10 games, I had no idea what I was scoring. I was just trying to play a game. So that's quite cool. And then the other thing that's really weird is the game. The game ends based on like a mission objective. So most of it was when one army was at 25% of its starting number. Was pretty much when they ended. But some of those are like when an army gets to 25% of its starting number on the next turn, before you start, roll a dice on a 1 or a 2, the game ends. If not, you just keep going. And other than that, there's no limit of turns. So I had one game where I had 8 models, so 5 big birds, a hero bird, Radagast, and a bear. And I got to fight a dragon and a Smaug, which is that like £500 model Games Workshop sell. So he had 2 models, and I think at one point we'd rolled 22 priorities, and then I lost count.
That's amazing.
It was literally like my bear charges Smaug. We roll. One of us wins. We push each other back. We roll priority. One of us charges the other one. We roll. One of us wins. We roll priority. I was like, this game's nuts. I've rolled like 22 priorities and it doesn't end until stuff dies. And I have to kill a giant dragon.
Yeah.
James, just some other thoughts. Like Lord of the Rings, really popular. A lot of cosplay. Any fancy cosplay at the event?
There was cosplay at the event.
Oh yeah.
Nice. So there was a guy dressed as an elf.
Okay.
His outfit
very
actually
normal.
Very fancy.
Oh really? Like he went.
Yeah,
full...
had like full fancy hat, matched the film.
Ooh.
Oh.
So either he'd bought it and spent some good money, or he knew what he was doing. There was a guy in a dwarf, dressed as a dwarf with a builder's hat on, but we decided his hat was too clean because it wasn't dirty and he should have been in a mine, so probably should have been a bit dirtier. But then, bit creepy. Someone dressed as the Arkenstone.
Okay. So before anyone gets into this,
Arkenstone?
yeah, Nathan, you know what the Arkenstone is?
Isn't that the stone that was under the mountain?
Yes. So
Somebody dressed as a stone.
yeah.
A real bright stone.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
like before James describes it, get in your mind how you would dress as the Arkenstone. Get there emotionally, and then
Why did you
James.
say creepy though?
Yeah. Right. Well,
Well,
exactly. So James,
so-
how did he do it?
So in my head, so he walked in, we looked at him for a bit, and everyone was just like, what the hell is that? I was like, I think it's the Arkenstone because there's nothing else that would look like that. Everyone else decided he was a squid. So he was in like reflective silver shoes,
Yeah.
reflective silver trousers, and then his top half was basically a squid outfit because he had the pointy head that came in, and then where his face was a hole, and he'd painted his face blue and stuck glitter all over it, right? And you know, like you go to an Age of Sigmar event and someone's dressed up like Matt Mallow once dressed as a tree. So if you imagine that outfit, if anyone's ever seen it in pictures or whatever, it was a bit like someone wearing that who'd then painted their face and covered it in glitter, which isn't comfortable. And I thought, it's not going to be an enjoyable 9 hours for you, mate. But I'd just like to say big props to the Games Workshop staff, because that, like on day one, there's these like 5 or 6 people in fancy dress. And the staff, I think before game 2 were like, we just want to say, we think it's really impressive that people have come in fancy dress. We've never had it for a Lord of the Rings event before. And in celebration, we're going to do a costume prize for the best costume at the event. But we're voting on it tomorrow, so you've got to come in costume tomorrow too. And I thought someone looked at that Arkenstone guy and went, we can ruin his weekend.
Did he come in it the next day?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did win the outfit because I don't know how anyone else was going to beat him because he looked like a right idiot. So he deserved to win, I think.
I reckon maybe fancy dress awards at every event. Thoughts?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Because I like the idea
Sure.
that, like, you're like, okay, I don't feel comfortable being the best gamer in the room. Not even sure I'm the funniest person in the room. Yeah? My army's not painted that well, but I can definitely dress like a twat. Like, that's really easy. Very achievable. It's an easy win. What would you dress as? Like, Nathan and James, chat, what would you dress as? Like,
What's
if
the
you're going
event?
it's just an Age of Sigmar event, 2,000 points. What are you going as?
I'd probably go in jeans, flannel shirt, and a hat that I don't pull down the right amount. And then I'd lose on all accounts because people would be like, don't like that show. Or
I fucking
just
hate you.
spray myself
Yeah.
with a can of black spray paint, but full body.
Yeah.
Get a white can, spray it down, and then wear a little sign that says, I am the original Zenithor Highlight. I go by no other name.
Slap chop.
Fucking rough being me today, I'm not going to lie. James has seen me one time and he's like, yeah, no problem. Here's my shots. Nathan, what about you? What would you dress as?
A dress as a specific thing.
Squig.
Dunno.
Squig gobber.
Yeah, I could dress as a squig.
Squig
And then just get little marshmallows, but squig like, and just put goggly eyes on them, and then spit them at people.
Imagine just turning up to the table and a grown man is like... I'm in. Christmas, Nathan, Best Dressed Award is available if you want to go for it. Okay. The chat, Grima Worm Tongue, just wear a regular goth outfit. Like a Troggoth hag, that's very specific. A Hobgrot is a lot of effort, I think. I could dress as Sigvald, I don't have the hair for it, I feel. Paint a Moonhopper, paint yourself green, and come in the nude, easy. So you could be a bounder, couldn't you?
Yeah, Boingrot Bounder on a space hopper, yeah.
That would be
Do you know
fucking
what you could come
hilarious. What?
Just a giant rock. And people will be like, the hell are you? And you'll be like, there's plenty of rocks in the mortal realms.
The rock.
I've seen things.
I've seen things. I've been stood on so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, idea quickly for the for our gaming clubs chat. You might not know, but we have a gaming club. There's only 4 of us in it so far, but like it's just a little one. We should all go to an event, but we should all take little space hoppers and go as like Boygrot Bounders. Like,
Would you be? But could we have like the little weapons and be the better ones? What are they?
Oh, the squig, the hoppers, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Squig
Yeah,
Which one's
okay.
the better one?
Oh, you're talking about
Well-
Boygrot Bounders.
Oh, they're the good one. And that's what I want to be. I don't want
They're
to be
the
the
ones
hopper
that
lad.
are knights, and then
Oh yeah, I
the
want
other
that one.
ones are
I want to be a knight.
Okay, I'm in. If you want to do it, we'll all go to an event as Boygrot
Yeah.
Bounders with space hoppers.
Let's order space hoppers.
Imagine turning up and there are just 4 adult men hopping their way into the room.
I wonder if anyone makes squig space hoppers. Games Workshop, if you're listening, and make one over this Christmas period.
Why don't we make some? Like, but not squigs.
Sell out.
Space bouncers. It doesn't matter.
Red Furies, we'll call them.
Yeah. Yeah. Figs or something. All right, Nathan. What? So, James, you had a fun time? Lord of the Rings, fun game. You gonna play some more?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I'm sure I will.
All right, great. Okay, and we'll come back to some of those things that, like the heroes and stuff in the game at the moment. After Nathan, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, all good. Like I say, played that game against you. That's probably the only hobby I've got around doing
Okay.
recently. Yeah, but that was good. Yeah, enjoyed that. Another run out for the old Squigs. It started off all right for the Squigs, but then got buried underneath loads of Zinch magic and stuff. Got snagged by the old big unit of pink horrors, didn't I? So yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was running a unit. I'm at the Everwinter GT this weekend, so upcoming, which I'm really looking forward to, and I'm playing in the event. So that's a bit like that's going to be pretty fun. And also, I'm an English fella going over to the American scene, so there's a bit of like a scalp on my a target on my back and a scalp to take. So I think people are going to want it. So I had to focus a little bit. I couldn't just be like, oh, ruffle, whatever. So I've had to I was like, what do I want to take? And honestly, there's a big issue at the minute with the Iron Blasters. As much as like we're a competitive Age of Sigmar show, I think the Monday show has kind of moved on as a show quite a bit. We're a big broadcast of people just having a good time. But obviously, I'm very focused on what's happening in the competitive scene and also what's happening in Age of Sigmar generally. And Iron Blasters are a huge issue in the moment. Like the list, which is 4 Iron Blasters, 3x4 lead belchers, 2x20 grots, a Stonehorn, and a Butcher, is just absolutely shocking stuff to think your way through, from a what am I going to do with my army sort of a situation, and it's going to be really meta defining. Not also, there's also the new Slaves to Darkness release. So there's a real kind of sometimes there's a drop, a book gets released and it's so defining of what's going to change. It's going to shape the game a lot of the way. And I think Slaves to Darkness is going to really change the shape of the game, and very much also that Iron Blaster list, if it continues to survive, is going to be one of those really big issues, at least for the armies that are currently out. Maybe Gits come out and they pose a new problem, but right now the very idea that I could lose a Lord of Change or Kairos or any of those things, topple one from 39 inches away with real no options, is pretty devastating. And you're like, well, I guess I'm fucked. So I've been trying to think around the problem a little bit, and then me and Nathan played a game, and one of my ideas was just to put 20 horrors inside a Gaunt Summoner, or maybe even 30 horrors, and just yeet them in, put them in the no retreat faction, and then just leave it. But the problem with that is it's so insular as a list, it's so linear that you can only really play in one way, and I didn't really want to play that over 5 games, because maybe I never play Iron Blasters. Maybe I just get dunked turn 1 by some dumb shit corn list because I'm an absolute idiot, and then I just have to. Yeah, exactly, right. And then I got to spend a whole weekend just being like, oh, here's my 30 horrors, can't retreat. It fucking sucks. So it's a bit of misery. So I decided to switch it up last minute. Me and Nathan played a game. I was like, nah, I don't want to do this. This is just boring. I wanted to go with the Mutalith Vortex Beast build. So I've only got the one. So I got the one in my list. So I've written my list now. I'm playing at the weekend. So
cool.
that was a fun game. So thanks, Nath. But then, Nath, I was doing the stat show earlier today, and a bloke called Matt Beasley literally has taken not my exact list, because his list is even smarter than my list. He's allied in some Ungor Raiders. Right, cool. So the pre-game move, so that he ends up killing his own Ungor Raiders to drop in the spawn into combat range.
Oh, yeah.
How clever is that?
Yeah.
Quick, change your list.
No, it's too late. It's too late. But just fantastic stuff. And take it now. I'm not going to take his list, but I've got my own version, so looking forward to it. That was a fun game. Thanks for the game, Nath. And so I'll be playing that at the weekend. I've got some Enlightened. I'm hoping I just yeet 6 Enlightened at them and just fucking scare them or something. It's probably not going to work, but still. It's a major issue in the minute, James. If you were returning to Age of Sigmar, if you're like, hey Rob, I want to play Age of Sigmar again, I'll be like, well,
watch out for them cannons.
Yeah,
on those rhinoceroses. Yeah,
it's a big deal, Nath. What do you think? Have you thought about it with your list? Because we talked about it a bit the other day.
Yeah, I've not really thought about it that much, and that I just know that it'll be a real tough battle. It's gonna go down to being really lucky. Just be lucky.
Dodge, duck, and dive in the army you don't want to play.
Because it's a horrific shooting list. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
because it can do. Not only can it pick out certain models, so if you've got elite models, it's pretty good at dealing with those. But then it's also not bad at doing a fair amount of damage, numbers wise. So just trying to swamp them even they'll probably be all right with that.
Yeah, it's it's because it's got a stone horn in it. It's got a lot of attacks. Yeah, it's pretty it's like
It's got good output. So yeah,
and there might be
it's
some
quite fast as well.
Yeah, very fast. And there might be some answers in some armies, like Deepkin's a good example of some answers in the armies, but like the army I would like to play is pretty much DOA in that matchup. And that's rough. That's a rough kind of like, yeah, I'm really enjoying playing this. Like it's the end of the day. So yeah, it's kind of weird. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed the game, Nathan. You got any events coming up, Nath?
Just the one my next one will be the Christmas slaughter, or whatever it is that you've got at the arena. So in Nottingham. So yeah, I'll probably bring the squigs again to that. I might swap it up a bit. Might bring a squig gobber.
When's the new book?
Spit marshmallows at people.
January.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just write to someone that's been painting loads of squigs and ask them if you can have it early.
The oracles, James. They're called the oracles.
Oh, okay. Write to one of them. Just say, have this early, mate.
Yeah. I might create a fake Twitter account just called the Oracles, where I just reshare all of the playtesters shit. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be fun, the Christmas event. I'm looking forward to it. The Christmas event, Nathan, based off what we were talking about earlier, is actually called War in the Heart of the Death Storm with the Raging Rivers of Fire Nations.
Blood.
And blood.
And skulls.
Fancy
On that
dress.
day, the Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah, fancy dress encouraged. I'm
going to come as Ang. Shave my head. Yeah. Nathan could be Ang.
Oh, nearly there. Fuck, yes.
So, draw the big blue arrow on.
Okay, just give an ogre player a pie during each of their turns and hope they forget there's a shooting phase. Nice. I like that idea. Yeah, that's really fun. All right, okay. That's the news, I think. That's what you two have been up to. James, just to intro us into the new section, otherwise we'll be here for hours.
Yes.
One of the things about Lord of the Rings, the game system, is obviously it's a game based on like a fairly well-known IP. So the difference maybe with Age of Sigmar, I guess to some degree, is we have a lot of gods in Age of Sigmar, and those are the characters you tend to know about. You don't tend to know about like Jimmy the Foot Soldier often. But Lord of the Rings, you know about. You collect it, you play it so you can play as Bjorn or Smaug or Aragorn.
Yeah, I think it's a weird mix, right? Like when we pick up Age of Sigmar, I would say like probably 90% of people that are new are like, I like those tree people.
Yeah.
But you don't have an attachment to tree people if you've not been around. You're just like, oh, I like tree people. Let me play with the tree people. Whereas I think if you've read, looked at, watched any of the like Tolkien stuff, you're probably like, oh, I thought Thorin Oakenshield was hot. Let's hang out with him. Or you're like, oh, I really like that dwarf army where they turned up on a pig. I'll play them. For me, I was always like, oh, if I'm going to be like the last stand of people, I'll play Rohan, because who doesn't like a horse lord? Exactly. So I think there's like an attachment. And I also think there's a weird attachment. So like, it's worth pointing out, because I haven't played that much, but way back when, and I think still some events, when you turn up, you take a good army and an evil army, because good and evil shouldn't fight.
Okay.
And they've moved away from that, I think, at a lot of events where you basically just play the army you want to play. But it's also kind of cool, like being in a room. And I guess in Age of Sigmar, you're like, someone's playing destruction or order or chaos or death. And they kind of make a choice there, maybe. Or maybe they just like, technically like how something looks. But realistically now in Age of Sigmar, like none of the order ones are particularly like the good guys, I wouldn't say. Whereas I think Lord of the Rings kind of gives us a black and white good versus evil narrative that's portrayed in a load of books, whether you agree or not, whatever. So like you pick a good or evil side, and that does matter. So in game, there's some like core rules where that's affected. So just to kind of go quickly gloss over them, like if there's an undecided thing, so like if we draw on a roll or a value in a battle, because those matter, basically what happens is you'll roll a dice. Whoever's priority is rolls a dice, and on a 1, 2, 3, evil always wins that roll, and on a 4, 5, 6, it's always good. So there's that matters, and then good guys. can't shoot through or into combat where their mates are, because you can always like miss shoot when you shoot. So if you have to shoot past a wall, you can hit the wall and you have to like roll for the wall. So if you're like so if you're like if I'm shooting Nathan's goblins and I can see them because there's a little fence in the way, I can shoot them, but I might hit the fence.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
nice.
If Nathan's goblins now charged my little Rohan lad, I can't shoot that combat because I could shoot my mate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like Darren from Rohan, and that's Paul from Rohan, and I know he's got a wife and kids and I don't want to shoot him. Whereas if it's the other way around and Nathan's like charged me and his little goblin at the back's like, oh, I could shoot that guy, he can just shoot me. But there is a chance he kills his own model.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
So there's
putting
like
him out of his misery.
Yeah, there's like some core mechanics to good versus evil. So I think you have that selection. So you have a selection of like, do I want to be the goodies or the baddies in like simplistic kid terms in my head?
Yep.
And then there's like a selection of like, are you a book fan? Because there are characters in the game now that are like just book people that you wouldn't unless you've read the books or the wider lore. And then, or are you like, I just want to be the Fellowship. I just want to play 9 models. Oh, I just want to be like the White City of Gondor and have 1 million models. And then it's kind of cool because you choose like a faction. And now, unlike for the people that I met at the weekend who'd played for like 20 years, what used to happen when Games Workshop first released it is like the Fellowship of the Ring came out and like a bunch of models came out. And then 2 Towers came out and a bunch of models came out. Whereas now it's like, oh, here's just a bunch of models. You can get like everyone. And that's cool, right? So you choose an army and then you get to choose a bunch of people in it. And the heroes are kind of cool because
that's the thing I'd really like to focus on.
Yeah,
that's the thing I'd like to focus on because that's going to lead us into the next bit. Can I just thank Dydrin for donating £50 to the show for our Christmas fund? That's for our Christmas party. Thank you. We're having a staff Christmas party here at the arena. So if you would like to donate some money to help, that's very, very kind of you. Thank you.
Cool.
I did get to see Dydrin at the weekend, actually. He came to play at the arena, which was really nice. So thanks. Okay, James, tell me about it's very kind of you. Thank you. Tell us about the heroes, because this is the important part. Lead us into the next bit.
Cool. So I'm just going to wing a bit of this that might be wrong. So if you're a Middle-earth strategy battle game player, please take my apologies in advance. So there's like levels of hero, which I think is important because like in Age of Sigmar, our definition of a hero is a hero, right?
Yes.
Like rules wise.
Mm-hmm.
So like Nagash is a hero.
Yeah.
And a Lord Celestin is a hero, but one is technically a god
hero,
and one is a lad, like a guy reborn.
Well, even a Lord Celestin is actually like pretty demigod level kind of.
Yeah. Okay. So give me just a lad.
A Dark Oath chieftain.
Yeah, there you go. It's just a chap, right?
Yeah.
So you've got like that one definition. So Middle-earth strategy battle game has like levels of hero, which matters in a wider context because they all like everyone comes in with a warband. So the lower the level, the hero, the less models that can hang out with them in their little crew.
Okay.
No.
But why that also matters is it almost gives you a definition of how good that character should be.
Nice. So it's not it's like hero level 1, hero level 2, hero level 3 sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of, but a bit fancier. So you have like hero of legend, hero of valor, hero maybe I think at that point, but they're like leveled. So it's like a hero of legend, so like super important, a hero of valor, kind like important but not super important, and then maybe just hero, I think. And those all have like specific stats to them, but it kind of quick defines, like you look at a book and you're like, okay, so I have a hero of legend, so they're basically my Nagash, let's say. So like a hero of legend, to try and keep it easy, would be like the Witch King of Agmar,
okay,
or Gandalf the White, or Aragon, And then like your heroes of valor would be like Aomer, who's the horse lord that hangs around with Theoden and is like captain of the guard, but not a king. Whereas Theoden would be a hero of legend, because although he might be an old man and he dies in the films, sorry for the spoiler.
Oh my god. My god.
You've had long enough. He is still like a hero of legend with loads of like narrative about him that's led a kingdom and etc. etc. And then you have hero kind of level people that can be like kind of nobodies.
Okay.
And also like the non-named characters. So there's like some named characters that are kind of a bit shit, for lack of a better term. So like one of the characters you can get, hero of fortitude are the low level ones.
So that's just like a captain. Or,
so it might be like Gondor captain on foot, and you can like write your own narrative if that matters to you, because it's that sort of game. But it might also be like a named character that mattered less. So like off the top of my head, and his level might be wrong in my head, but like, you know, if we've all watched Return of the King, there's the guy that steals Frodo's mithril vest and legs it.
Yeah.
He's in it. You can have him. But like
little goblin dude.
Yeah. And so like he's not an important hero, but he's still like a character that affected the lore of the world. So I guess there's that like weird thing where you can take like a hero and they might be semi-important, but they're not Theoden or the Witch King or Gandalf. And then there's like more deep dive into that. So if you want to debate that first before I go any further, that's cool. If you want me to keep going.
I think that's like a tertiary like overview is the important part, especially as maybe like what I'm hoping as we go through this kind of like review, because this has been something that's kind of been on the back burner for a show for quite a while. I've been talking about this a lot on like the stat shows or the list review shows, and they've been saying that one of the things that I don't think Games Workshop do very well when they actually look at a book wholesale is they're not very good at writing unit roles. Like when I wrote a Battletoad, well, 2 Battletoads for Age of Sigmar, like earlier in the year with the Twitch chat, what we discussed was like sometimes the units don't really make any sense because they don't have an identity. Whereas like if you produced a unit role that and they could be multiple unit roles, right? Like they don't have to be a singular piece. But like some units look like or sound like or are described like they should be a unit role. Then they just aren't. Like, and I think the melee foot character is like maybe the most obvious archetype that you could potentially get. Maybe Games Workshop don't want to be like, we don't want to fit into archetypes. We are way big brain than that. And it's like, that's pretty boring because you're not. So like it would be, I think it's going to be fun to discuss, especially compared to Lord of the Rings, where I assume they have kind of quite a few different like hero archetypes. But the one we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the melee character, the duelist, the on-foot legend, because I think it's fair to say that quite a lot of them don't necessarily feel like they are these kind of like, you know, the swordsmen of repute, if that makes sense. I don't know. Nathan, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yes, you get heroes that are like, they're more fighty than the regular foot troops, but they're not particularly threatening to anybody really as a unit. Like in a fight, you don't really mind if they get stuck in because they might do a handful of wounds, but they're not going to tip the balance of that fight really. Which is in stark contrast to, let's say, the films of the Lord of the Rings, where they'll be like, "Oh, cave troll!" and sure, there's like 5 of them that beat him up, yeah, or like, you know, like Aragorn just chops through several bloody Uruk-hai during the film, yeah, and he's pretty baller at it. So like, you know, there definitely isn't many like heroes basically, which I think is fun.
I think it's that weird thing, right? Like Nagash is a god. But there's that weird occasion where, like, he just gets killed by 4 iron blasters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's a weird narrative, right? Like, if you went, and I guess Lord of the Rings has that weird thing where, even like interestingly, which kind of blew my mind, and I don't know why, because it probably shouldn't have. But when I went into Throne of Schools, they gave me a score sheet, and it had the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth Strategy Battle Game logo, and then at the bottom was like 5 rules around the copyright of that logo because it belongs to Warner Brothers, because like no one can mess with it without their permission. And I guess there's an interesting thing where if you make a game with like a huge narrative that you don't have control of, because obviously Games Workshop make the game but they don't control like Aragon as a character, like there's that weird point, isn't there, where it's like, oh, you shouldn't have a game where he just walks in and gets one shot by a cannon because he's more important than that. Yes. And it's interesting that in the flip, like maybe what we're saying is like the Lord Celestant that can die to like 10 Namarti thralls with a bow. Is he an important hero? Maybe not, but in our heads, a hero, I would have thought shouldn't die to 10 arrows from some lads that don't have eyes.
Yeah, the survivability is like a really good kind of conversation, especially when we like see which units like we hit or quit, right? So survivability, I think, is a huge issue. Number one. Follow-up probably is like even when they get there, they're not. There's underwhelming, there's overwhelming, there's whelming, and they're below whatever underwhelming is, I think, in a lot of ways. So yeah, maybe we should just start looking through them. How's that sound?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so we're going to go through them. If I miss any, then let me know. And if you are watching this on like YouTube, then do leave some comments on what your favourite characters are and whether you'd hit or quit them. Chat, your opportunity to say hit or quit. And then if you listen to the podcast, maybe just tell your friends, be like, by the way, I'd hit that. And they'd be like, what the fuck? What? What? Okay, all right. So the first one we're going to talk about, so James is going to be my Jamie for today. We're going to talk about Lord Commander Bastion Carthalos. Lord Commander Bastion Carthalos. So we'll talk about the mini a little bit. He is definitely a big foot character. He's got that superhero pose. He's got a giant hammer, larger than even, I think, Galmaraz, which is actually a legendary hammer. So there he is. So just a big, bold dude. James, what's the story on this laddo?
You're going to have to bear with me slightly longer, I'm afraid.
No problem. Nathan, you've seen the Bastion model. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet model. He looks pretty boss, doesn't he?
He definitely looks like a melee, like, dude, right? Like, he's going into battle as a melee foot character. That's the idea.
Yeah. He looks like he can do the business.
Yeah.
Or best.
Okay, I am ready.
But go on, James.
So I'm just going to give you the brief bit, but it's Bastion. Do you know what I never realised till today?
Tell me.
Until I had to type it. It's Bastion Carthalos.
Yes. Why? What did you think it was?
Cathalos.
Oh no, it's Carthalos.
Okay.
The one thing
Bastion
I know.
Carthalos he's the Lord Commander of the Hammers of Sigmar. Mm-hmm. Long has this noble served as Castellan and a Vizier. I mean, we'd never heard of him till about 6 months ago. But he's now must unleash the great power of the great bolt scourged, God knows, on the realms at large. So he's basically like the top lad in the Hammers of Sigmar, right? And he used to be the guardian of the town, but now he's got to get out there.
And he's a lot. Yeah, Speckles, thanks for resubscribing. I played against Bastion this weekend and did 30 mortal wounds to my Terrorgeist. Then he charged me. So nice. Yeah, he's gonna do really well here. So he's 300 points. He's got 8 wounds and a 3-up armor save. So he's definitely pointed like he's going to be a badass in combat. He has 4 attacks that are 3s to hit, 2s to wound, Ren 2, and damage 4. So big damage. So he definitely does. I would say that feels like a good melee profile. Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty decent. Like, you're expecting probably at least 8 damage, hopefully 12, out of the sky, on average.
Which is like a 10-man unit, right? Like there's a lot of those. That's I guess kind of like our ability to deal with 10 dudes stood on an objective, or I guess 5 liberators, etc., standing on an objective is pretty much what you would want from a melee character. You would feel like a hero should be able to fairly walk through them, in my opinion. So that's, and then he's got a couple of special rules, hasn't he, James?
Yes. So he so he glares at people, but I think it's shout. But I kind of like the idea when I was playing him that he just glared at people.
Yeah,
he's a bit
the
badass
voice
looking.
of thunder.
Yeah, so basically once per turn in your hero phase, you just pick a model anywhere on the board. It doesn't matter if they can see it or not. You roll their wounds characteristic. And for every 6 you roll, they take a mortal wound. So you want to pick, like, having played him, like, you're picking the big boys. So good against a Mega Gargant because you get like 36 dice and every 6 is a mortal wound to them. I think I lowered at about 7 mortal wounds on a Mega Gargant, but once peaked on 13 from one roll.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. Okay, he's got that. He also has the ability, like, and I think this is going to like touch on this. He's also got the ability. He's got a 4-up ward save, so 3 up armor, 4-up ward on 8 wounds is already crazy because it's effectively foe 16 wounds on the model. So like, I have a general sort of feeling that the hero keyword should just get a 5-up ward.
Yep.
Pretty much as a universal special rule, with special characters getting a 4+, because, you know, like your 5 wound character just on a 4-up armor save with no ward save is getting yeeted by many a spell for no real reason. And then he also can heal himself, right? Which is nuts.
Yeah, so if he kills something in combat, he just heals full at the end of the combat. So he's a weird one because you kind of want him to punch big things. But if he's getting a bit battered, you almost want to like just tag the end of a block of skinks, kill one, heal full, worry about it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's pretty good, I think. Like a 4-up ward heals everything if he kills something. Like he can stand combat. I think my highlight was I once threw mine into 6 Tempestors, which are the like fulminators with crossbows that fight.
Yeah.
So I threw him into them. They left him on a wound. He decimated 2 in 1 round of combat, healed full, and then just ate his way through them for 2 more turns, I think.
Yeah, he's a proper badass, and it's kind of one of the interesting things where we know Games Workshop are like, we know how to write a melee character rule. Now, I'm not saying that I want every single foot character to be 300 points. But I think as a litmus test, as a kickoff, I think I would rather have a character that fit into this kind of role as a melee character and was like, I mean, Sigvar's 205 points as an example, so it doesn't have to be as crazy as Bastion. But I think the very concept that we have characters that are like heroes at 100 points that just do nothing is kind of like, what the fuck, why do we have them? But we'll talk about them when we get to them. So he's a badass. Hit or quit? That's the real question. Nathan, we'll start with you. You're going to hit him or quit him? What are you doing?
He's pretty tasty. I'd have him. I'd have him on my team. Or Bastion.
Yeah, you'd have him on your team. All right, James, hit or quit?
He's hitting a home run.
Yeah, he's a badass. Yeah, he's up there for like maybe the duelist character of the Mortal Realms. Oh, before we get into this, the person that's already written, Gotrek wins, Gotrek's banned. Gotrek is like Gotrek is fan service. Like, Gotrek.
Do you know why he's banned?
Why?
Because he's actually not from the Mortal Realms. He's from the old world.
He is from the old world. I mean, some of these others are going to be from the old world. It's going to be a problem, James. But yes,
Yes, Sigvald.
Yeah, he's like MCU fan service. Is not. Hey, Jacob Berry in the chat. Love that guy. No, you've just started, Jacob. Today's show is just we're going to hit or quit, and then we're going to make ourselves a smaller pool for the kind of the whole thing.
The list so far, Jacob, is we've all hit Bastian Cathalos.
Yeah, we've hit him. We've hit
Cathalos.
Oh no, I've accidentally opened up a Volturnus. Sorry about that. Okay, next up is Dreicher Hammerdreth.
Oh.
Now, Dreicher isn't mounted, I don't think. I guess she's kind of in this like. By the way, I've just like.
Is she a monster?
Is she a monster? She's not a monster.
Yes, she is.
Is she?
Yeah, keyword monster.
Do you think she gets? Are we gonna out her? Bin
No,
her?
she's a monster.
Okay.
She's in the bin.
All right. Get Dreicher out. I'm sorry about that. All right, next
Yeah,
up is a Saurus Old Blood. Right? Okay.
Yep.
Right, so we got rid of Drycha. Right, smash. Yeah, so this is a Saurus Old Blood. He's pictured still on a square base. I think they actually sell him on a square base. I think it's part of his model.
Oh, and he's fine cast.
Is he fine cast?
Apparently. Chat said so. I'm going to believe him.
I don't think he is. So Saurus Old Blood, James, you ready?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Tell me about him. What's the story behind a Saurus Old Blood?
Oh, the start sentence is not good.
Oh, no.
Veterans of centuries of fearsome bloodshed.
Okay.
Centuries. Not 10 years, centuries.
Okay, yeah.
Saurus Old Bloods are the greatest commanders of the Seraphon.
Yep.
Each directs their cohorts with an instinctive, savage precision, enacting the designs of the Slan with faultless loyalty.
Okay, so
Firstly, faultless.
Faultless.
Bravery 8.
And the greatest commanders. Yes.
Okay, so maybe he's a support character. Maybe we're being a little bit unfair,
Okay.
right? 7 wounds with a 3-up save.
Yep.
Okay, so
Very
similar
good.
to Bastion. 120 points, though, so almost only a third of the cost.
So you get 3 of these for Bastion.
Basically 3 of these for Bastion, yeah. His combat profiles. You can have a bunch of weapons. You can either have a Celestine Maul, Warblade, War Spear, or Great Blade. Nathan, which one do you want?
Maul.
A Maul. Okay, no problem. Okay, so the Maul gets you 3 attacks.
Yeah.
Hitting on a 4. Wait, James, how long has this guy been practicing for?
Centuries.
Centuries. Okay.
Centuries. And he's not just been practicing, he's a veteran of centuries. So, he could have been a veteran for centuries.
Yes.
By the way, that's written.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so...
Also, greatest commander. So, Bastion Cathalos is the greatest commander for just the Hammers of Sigmar, and this guy is the greatest commanders of the Seraphon.
Okay.
Centuries alive.
Centuries alive. Anyway, 3 attacks, hits on a 4. Wounds on a 3, rend 1, damage D3. So not the best, but he does have a bite attack, fearsome jaw. 1 attack, hits on a 4, wounds on a 3, no rend, damage 1. But maybe there's some special abilities. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by a Celestine weapon is a 6, it explodes. It's going to turn into 2 wound rolls. But he hits on a 4, don't forget. And it's only explodes on a 6. And then Wrath of the Seraphon. Use command ability in the combat phase. Pick a friendly Saurus unit holding within 18 inches of this model. Add 1 to the hit rolls. But obviously you get that now as a generic ability. So profile-wise, Nathan, how do you feel about his melee output?
Boo. Hits on a 4. Boo.
Can we
3
just go back?
attacks.
Yeah.
Each directs their cohorts. So what would we say a cohort is?
It's like a unit. A unit.
Yeah. And so if we put an S on the end, what would it be?
Cohorts. Many units.
Yeah. Okay. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Saurus. He's not doing a good job of commanding many, is he?
No, he's not. Maybe it's like a single unit contains. Maybe they think cohorts like a pair of lads. They're like, oh, look at that. There's 5 cohorts in that unit. There's 10 dudes. But yeah,
That's wrong.
He's also got savage precision with his hits on a 4.
Yeah.
He's savage precision that's 50% accurate.
Yeah. All right, so are we hitting or quitting this boy? So things he's lacking: a ward save, the heal mechanic, so anything special at all, really. I think is fair.
Well, even his command ability.
Even his command ability.
It's just a rule. It's just a rule now.
Yeah. He's pretty rough. What are you thinking, James? You quitting or hitting?
He's quitting.
Nath?
Yeah. Out with him.
Okay, we'll quit it.
He's done his centuries of service. It's time he was a retired veteran.
It's time he was retired. All right, don't worry. We are now in absolute Stonkstown. An assassin. There is no way an assassin isn't a duelist of the highest order. Well, maybe not like a duelist in their ability to kind of like, because I sometimes feel like they're a swashbuckler. They're a toe-to-toe melee specialist, right? I think that seems like a kind of fair description of a duelist. So maybe an assassin isn't quite that. He stabs you in the back and runs away. But yeah, here is the assassin. But before James describes his narrative, this guy is 80 points, so not high hopes. James?
There is no fortress, city, or fortified war camp that the feared Shadowblade assassins cannot infiltrate.
Okay.
And few foes, can hope to survive the potent dead poisons delivered by their wicked daggers.
Okay, so few foes can hope to survive.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, so he's got 5 wounds with a 5-up armor save. That makes sense. This guy stabs you in the back. Glass cannon is what we're thinking as a duelist.
And does one.
And does one. So that's what we're hoping from him as a role, right? Because you feel like
Quick
maybe...
out job. Yeah.
You almost feel like I don't know what you two think, but if you were writing like an Age of Sigmar battle tome, you would almost be like, there's you almost could get subclasses from this kind of overarching role, right? Like melee foot character. You could have duelist, which is more your frontline warrior, assassin, who is more of your glass cannon, and then maybe even kind of like
tank.
Yeah, tank who just survives.
Paladin type, yeah.
A paladin, that's a great example. So there's probably a bunch of subclasses, which is actually quite fun for the rules designers to write, I assume, if they were to this is why I really like the idea of thinking it through this as a project together, because I really do feel like that they don't do this, and I'm hoping it kind of starts the ball and momentum rolling of getting that idea out there that they could do it. Okay, so his combat profile is 6 attacks, pretty decent.
Yeah.
3s and 3s, rend 1, which is rough, and then damage 1. So for a total of 6 damage. However, he's got that poison that they discussed. So any 6s to hit, and the attack inflicts D3 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. So pretty good.
But it's a wound roll.
Oh, is it a wound roll? Oh,
yeah.
Yikes. Even worse. Okay, but then he can also deploy inside of a unit, which I think is kind of interesting. By the way, chat, if you've got any ideas for what a melee kind of class would be in Age of Sigmar, I'd love to know what it is, kind of foot characters. And he can also deploy inside of a unit, right? So he can pop out, do some stabbing, and then, well, unfortunately, there is no go home rule.
And he's getting moving 6 out of a unit.
Yeah, this really feels like a CIA kind of assassin that gets set up for the fall straight away. They're like, okay, you shoot the guy, and then we're going to be there to extract you. And he's like, promise you're going to be there? Yeah, we promise. Shoot the guy, and they'll immediately get you out there. And he pops out, stabs someone, and is like, where's the extraction team? There's none.
And instead there's a searchlight just bang.
And a siren goes off in his hat.
So, Nath, what do you think about this guy?
I mean, he's cheap, but...
But, is that what you don't, aren't assassins?
He's got quite a few attacks. I don't think he would kill another hero, though. So, no.
Yeah. He doesn't even kill other heroes, which is you're not asking him to kill the guy.
That's his job. His job is to kill heroes, right?
Yeah, or maybe
you're not hiring, you're not going to the shop, right? Whatever the assassin shop is. You're not going there, are you?
Assassins
and they're
are us.
Yeah.
Who do you want killed? And you're like, just the first person you see. Are you sure? It's 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone. I just wanted to kill someone today, but I can't really be asked to do it myself.
See, this is where the conversation about value comes in for me, because number one, it's a cool model. Yeah, painting him up may not take super long unless you paint him really nicely. But he's a wicked model, right? But like someone in the chat, who was it? Big Tom? No, not Big Tom. Some Norwegian dude was like, I'd rather pay double the points and have him be actually killy. Like, I wouldn't mind it being like 200 to 300 points, and you have like, holy shit, this guy like pops out of a unit, he stabs something, then he like bops 6 inches away or something. Like, it's crazy. Like, you really want like an assassin sort of unit, and this definitely isn't an assassin guy, or am I wrong?
All right. He won't kill a dude.
I think the other thing is, like, you've got 80 points, right? This guy's an assassin that few foes can hope to survive. But realistically, he's not killing a unit of 10 skinks.
Yeah, no, he doesn't even have. Yeah, he doesn't even have that much output. Yeah,
I mean, he probably won't even kill a skink priest. So, and that's what you want him to do.
Oh, you really want him to kill a skink priest? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, are we saying hit or quit? Which is a shame. So, because they have written Slink. Lou Dog in the chat has made a good point. They've written Slink, which is one of the Skaven units. He's more of an assassin. Like, they're getting close to giving that scale. But this is, again, one of those things where they rarely create options in a book. They're just like, just make him cheap, 80 points, want an assassin for 80 points? You're like, no. I want a 300-point assassin that, like, I want Jason Bourne. I do not want, like...
Can I give a midway interesting comparison for something that happened at my weekend?
Would love that. Please do.
So, interestingly... if you're playing Middle-earth strategy battle game, you can obviously play the Nazgul, which are the ring wraiths, basically.
Yeah.
And you can take them, and they're a bit of a weird unit because they are made with magical power, and you can pay more to make them stronger.
Yeah.
So you can have like rubbishy ones and stronger ones. But one of the things you can put on them is a Morgul blade. So like the swords we see them using in the film. And it's not even expensive. I think it's about 10 points. Which is a fair amount in that game, but not a huge amount. And basically, it's poisoned with the poison of Morgul, or Morgoroth, or whatever it is. And if it inflicts a wound on anyone, and heroes have like a ward save mechanic, so they can save the wound that's caused. But if it causes a wound, whatever it causes a wound on, it's just dead.
Yeah, wow. So you can kill anything.
Yeah, so in the game... I think it was game 1, first day. Someone drew against Smaug, the giant dragon, 750 points, 20 wounds. Got 1 wound in with a Morgul blade. Gone, dead, poisoned.
Murdered him.
Yeah. But I think, like, if someone said, yeah, this lad, still a squishy, so still 5 wounds, 5 save, still hide him in a unit, 1 attack, let's say. Just 1.
Yeah.
2s, -2. If he causes a wound on something, it's dead.
Just auto-slain.
If it's...
and he can pick out models.
Yeah. But, so it could be...
Well,
could be your hero, could be Bastian Cathalos, still gets his ward save. But if he fails his ward save, takes a wound, dead. But you got to pay 300 points. Do you think you'd be more tempted to take him than you are now?
Yeah. Because he's one of those units where, like, I talk about this a lot when you're doing list writing. Like, it's a unit that you sometimes would build something around. You might do like a bunch of like, actually I've got like 4 MSU 10-man units, and you don't know which one like I've hidden the assassin inside of. So you get some little fun engagement there. Like, what he's currently doing is nothing, but like a more expensive war scroll that you could maybe build some lists around is really fun. Like, so yeah, I'm more tempted to do that than I am to take him in his current form, which is just silly. Like, I think. So yeah, I'm on the quit wagon is where I'm at. Nath?
Yeah, quit.
Because, like, imagine if they create like a goblin assassin, right? Because he would be like 5s to hit, 5s to wound, yeah, like, and then you've got to roll like a 5 up and you auto slay something because he like does some like, but you would take that as a goblin because goblin people are crazy people. They would do that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. We just reinvented the
big mushroom.
Yeah, exactly. Then place a mushroom on the board where that model
mighty
was.
mushroom.
Yeah.
And you have to paint all those mushrooms.
By the way, thanks to Jshesh for resubscribing. Someone says, want the assassin to be the guy if the enemy leaves a hole in their defenses, he runs in and nukes the other hero, then dies. Jog PLC says, Jason Bourne, not Johnny English, which I think is fair. Okay, you're out, assassin, I'm afraid. Uh-oh, we're back to Seraphon. The Saurus Old Blood. So
no. This is a nice model too.
He is originally named Gorak, the white Saurian or something like that. He is also fine cast, I need you to know. He's got like a scar across one of his faces as a model. Like looks like his eye has been ripped off. He's got this big like maul, which is super good. The Sunblood looks awesome, in my personal opinion. It looks very fun. Nathan, what do you think of the model?
Yeah, I do like that model from. It's been around a while, but it's sweet.
It's old.
Yeah, he's a big fighty lizard man thing.
Yeah, so he's got a giant shield, a maul, and and it looks like he's a melee-based character. James, what does it say?
Scarred and hulking champions of battle. Sunbloods are Sunbloods are amongst the most deadly of all Saurus.
Oh boy.
They lead their reptilian kin to smash through the weakest portion of an enemy line. Their heavy maces rising and falling with merciless efficiency.
Dude.
Okay, so important point. So most deadly of all Saurus, Celestine War Mace. It's 1 inch range. It's got 6 attacks, deadly.
Yep.
Hits on the 3, wounds on the 3. Pretty good.
Yep.
Rend 1.
Boo.
Damage 1.
Boo.
So, not quite the same as Bastion in many ways, as a melee unit. He has got 7 wounds on a 3-up armor save. He has no ward save, but he does have exploding 6s on his Celestine Mace. Hello,
Lovely.
Lovely. And then he's got some sort of other ability where he can add +1 to wound rolls for attacks for a unit. So yeah, someone has put in the chat, slightly better than a Blight King.
Yeah. Also, like, what I don't understand is, like, just get rid of the narrative now, because none of it makes any sense. Like,
How do you mean?
Well, so I'm going to ignore all the part where they tell us how great he is, because obviously there has to be some. But this bit where it's like they lead their reptilian kin to smash through the weakest portion of the enemy line. Well, and then his command ability is add 1 to wound rolls.
It's pretty rough.
Give me a command ability that's like if targeting a unit with a 5-up save, all models with him gain +1 to hit and wound.
Yeah. Something
or just
good.
Get rid of the text because it's not exciting.
But then that means he becomes more of a. Someone in the chat earlier on was like, put the different classes. That's more of like a war leader role, right? So that's more of a like.
He's like got a big old shield and a 3-up save.
Yeah, no ward save. Get yeeted out the game. Okay, Nathan, what about you, baby?
No, yeah, just damage 1 with his massive club, 3s, and rend 1 as well. So yeah. Rubbish.
Yeah, this guy, by the way, I'd like
his command ability is interesting, but it's not like have it pluses to wound is always cool, but it's not an aura, so they can only have 1 command ability. It's very so no.
I agree. Let's quit this guy. Same wounds as an ogre hero, but 2 times the save. Kind of okay. He's not okay, like, because he's like, what does he do? That's the kind of bit. Like,
hangs out.
Yeah, he hangs out. Like, he lives, but like, and he costs 125 points. So I'm gonna go for rubbish. I'm quitting him. Chat, everyone. James, Nathan, happy to quit.
Yeah, bin
this guy off. Yes, now we're into it. The meat and potatoes of Warhammer. A Doom Seeker. Okay, so he's a Fire Slayer character. He's got he's got 2 axes really. He's got an axe, and I think I don't even know what the second weapon he has is. It's
like a spike thing, isn't it?
It's kind of like a sickle almost. It's like a very long-hafted knife.
It's a pick. It's a mining pick.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a pickaxe. The hook's for climbing and the pick's for picking. I bet you it's called a war pick, but it's not because it's not on it. It's a runic war iron.
There you go.
A war iron.
Yeah, it's a war iron. Okay.
What the hell is a war iron? Now I need to know that. Chat, tell me.
It's like when you flatten your clothes, but for war.
Useless in many ways. All right, so James, tell us about this Doom Seeker, because this guy feels like he's like on it.
It is said of the Doom Seeker that their axe scorches in the air with every swing, that they spit glowing cinders with every war cry, and that the wrath of the forge burns in their glare. This is no dishonorable mercenary, but a religious crusader whose word is their bond.
85 points. like you need only ever put the text next to the points to know where we're at. 5 wounds with a 4-up save, moves 4 inches. Okay, so what was the Doomseeker's axe described as splitting? The axe scorches the air with every swing.
Setting the air on fire.
Yeah.
3 attacks.
Nice.
3s
I mean,
and 3s.
it's hot though, right? It's giving off some heat. You're sweating.
Yeah. 3s and 3s.
Yep.
Rend 1, damage 1.
Boo.
Well, it makes it really better. The runic war iron, which we weren't sure
Boo.
about. I like Nathan's role in this show today. Just like booing stuff, like to give emotional context for the audience. Yeah, runic war iron, 3 attacks again, 3s and 3s, no rend. Yeah, damage 1.
He should have bought a normal iron. It would have been better instead of the war iron.
It would have been better. I agree.
No, his rules are worse.
Go on, James. Talk me through the rules.
So he's oath bound because he's a crazy religious zealot. We've just found out. I mean, so that's already problematic. All round.
Correct. Yes.
So at the start of the first battle round, he picks 1 enemy unit, so he can then swear to destroy it. And at the end of the combat phase, if the Doomseeker, is that?
It's within 3 of that unit.
Yeah, and has fought no more than once, it can fight again, but only target the unit it said it's going to destroy.
Yep.
In addition, in the combat phase, if this unit is destroyed within 3 of the unit it has sworn to kill, and not fought more than once, it can fight before it dies.
So it's got to
but
fight
he's
twice.
rubbish at fighting.
He's rubbish at fighting. Wait, hold on. He's got runic power though. Yeah.
Okay. So he adds 1 to the damage characteristic.
Yeah.
Of his of both of his weapons. If this unit has 1 wound allocated to it, 2 to the damage of this unit's melee weapons if it's had 2 or more wounds allocated to it. Or if the Oathbound ability has allowed it to fight before being removed. Okay, so he can be damaged 3 on both those weapons?
Pretty good. There we go. So, go on.
But he's got to be almost dead.
He's got to take 2 wounds. He's got 5 wounds with a 4-up armor save. So, he's less which isn't super difficult to get through. Ultimately, but yeah, he could be damage 3 on all of his weapon profiles for a total of 3 attacks damage 3 and another 3 attacks damage 3. But
18 damage.
18 damage. So you do have to play pretty loosey goosey with his. It's at least an engaging mechanic, right? Where
it's the best one we've seen since Bastion Cathalos.
I agree. I think it's kind of fun. No pluses to the rend, though. I agree. He really doesn't split the air afire. It's definitely fair to say.
No, that -1.
I think he's kind of fun.
Do you know what the problem is? He's splitting the air behind the axe. He needed to split the air in front.
Yeah, that's true.
Splitting the air was all well and good, but how about splitting the head of the bloke in front of you?
If he's not in armor or not in very good armor, he might.
If he's got air armor on, then this guy's in with a chance. If there's more than air as armor, he's fucked.
He's super fucked.
Sod this guy.
So you're going to quit him. I'm going to hit him But you
Okay.
guys, it's a 3-way vote. So I'm going to hit this guy because he at least has some sort of mechanic where he's in a fight and he gets extra damage, kind of.
85 points, I'm going to hit him.
You're going to hit him too? Nice.
Yeah, I think if we gave him an artifact that gave him a 2-up save and a 4-up ward save, when that artifact comes, then he might get to someone to kill on. So I'm in.
I think the trick is you just take loads of them.
Oh, no, that's even more of a waste of points. But he's staying. He's staying for now. I'm hitting him.
Okay, so got a sassy leg. All right, Nathan, what about you? You hitting or quitting?
No, sod that guy.
Okay.
If he has
Hey, look,
damage
Nathan, he's in the
3,
final now.
then that's fine. But anyway.
Just FYI, chat. The two people that have hit it are me and James. The person that quit it is the guy who very regularly tries to run little goblin heroes around to murder stuff. Yeah, and also has played several different dwarf characters where he's tried to murder stuff. I feel like Nathan's more on it than me and James are. We're a bit more hopeful, but I just like to be conscious of that. Okay, so he's staying. So he's in there.
Lad.
We've got another dwarf. Time to get in, right? So the Arcanaut Admiral. Okay, so we're going to the Kharadron Overlords. Now, I want to be really clear about what I'm looking at here. This guy is encased, head to toe, beard included, inside armor, has a breathing backpack, is armed with a gun, and he's just cased in armor, head to toe, and has a giant hammer with what looks like to be a drill on one end, and it looks like it might also be a mechanized hammer, like a chainsaw hammer, maybe.
Yeah, it's powered from his belt, right?
Yeah, it's powered. There's a cable,
Powered. Yeah.
And it's got a little, like a tank track bike chain in the middle.
Yeah, it's a power hammer.
Box and tracks and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's actually a Sculf hammer. Or
okay.
whatever.
Apologies. Right. Okay. So I just want to. This is for the podcast guys, so they can kind of they can get what's going on.
You're painting them a picture with words.
Exactly. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. Okay. James, take us through it.
Okay. Arcanaut Admirals are the cream of the Skyport officer class.
Perfect.
Intrepid leaders and battle-hardened veterans of 1,000 aerial engagements. So they've been in 1,000 battles at least. Not as much as that Saurus lad, but some. Whose booming commands inspire their crew to the mighty deeds in search of profit.
Yeah.
So he's already a capitalist, Rob.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Go on.
That out.
What's up, James? That's it.
That's all of it. That's all of it. That's all we needed to know.
All right. So listen, he's got 6 wounds on a 3-up armor save. Okay. So the armor that we see is represented in the model. Not bad. He doesn't have a ward save, I'm afraid. So movement 4. So like his ability to get across the board. I reckon 10 Blissbarb archers are going to absolutely wreck this guy from across the board, but not a problem. He's 125 points, and then he's got a volley pistol, which he's obviously armed with the gun, which is 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, rend 1, damage 2. So, like, okay. And then his Scalf hammer, the hammer we talked about, his big power hammer, is, to be fair, 3 attacks, hitting on a 3, wounding on a 2, rend 2, damage 3.
Nice.
So, like, a pretty large amount of attacks. I don't know what I would prefer on that melee profile. Would I want 4 attacks that are damage 3, or would I think I want damage 4? Because I think he's close to what I would kind of want from like a Dwarden hero in some ways.
I don't know. Damage 3 is as much damage as Galmaraz.
Yeah, but I think Galmaraz is like,
Sure, but
like,
other than that,
hilarious that it's Galmaraz. It's like damage 3. Get out.
Yeah, because Bastion's hammer is damage 4.
Yeah, yeah. We haven't talked about that, but yeah, like in comparison,
we'll come back to it.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
What? I don't know what Archeon's sword is. Archeon's sword might be damage 3. So
Yeah, but he's just some wussy pussy on a big horse. He can sod off that guy.
It's a famous sword, though, Nate. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, famously rubbish, like its owner.
All right, so his special rules are: you add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit if you target a hero or monster. Yeah. You've got the Protect the Admiral. Before you allocate a wound or a mortal wound to this unit, you can allocate it to a different Skyfarer unit, so he can be bodyguarded as a character, which is kind of cool.
So it's sort of like a 3-up board save, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're killing people for it.
Yeah.
I don't hate that though. I mean, I don't mind.
It's not terrible. He's a capitalist and he's throwing the lesser beings in the way to keep alive.
I like, you know how I said that there should be like a 5-up like ward save just like on the hero keyword. Like I often think, and obviously I don't mean on Gargants before we get into this conversation, obviously, but like I almost feel like you could put the bodyguard rule instead for just every character. Just be like, insert keyword. Like that's not a bad way of just like making it so you can keep characters more alive. It's kind of interesting.
People jumping in the way.
Exactly, right? Exactly. He's got the Master of Skies, which is command ability, which doesn't really help him as a duelist character. And he is an admiral, and then he's got a bunch of Aether-powered munitions, so he can choose like a profile. So I'm not necessarily certain he's meant to be like a frontline melee character. He's an admiral, which don't generally tend to be front and center, but weirdly is one of our better melee units. It's a weird
one though, right? Like, because in theory, because I'm the narrative guy today.
Yeah.
Like, he's been in 1,000 aerial engagements. So let's imagine he wasn't an admiral to begin with.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just got good at hitting people, but now he's too important to just hit people. But when people get to them, he still knows how to hit them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, that makes sense, I think.
Yeah, I think that does make sense as well. Gear. And also, like, those Caradron ships are more, like, they're less armies on the table. They're less, like, you know, like green fields kind of armies lined up against each other. And instead, there's an aerial engagement and then, like, it's all hands aboard deck. And this guy jumps off the yard arm and starts smashing skulls. So I quite like that idea, yeah. Nathan, you got any thoughts on this guy?
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I didn't realize I've not seen these rules about the Aether-powered munitions before.
Yeah,
they're quite fun, aren't they? They're
really cool.
So, yeah, giving them a load of little variations on what they can do in the shooting phase. That's pretty cool. Yeah. He's fairly fighty. He's not like gonna smash his way through units, but he can put some hurt on like another similar hero. Yeah, and he's got some interesting little things that he can do. So yeah, I quite like him.
I quite like the bodyguard rule as like a generic rule.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I switch up from the ward save to the bodyguard rule in this convo. I think specifically because someone in the chat, Malk, said bodyguards are more fun as well. The damage hits, you can choose where it lands, but you still have to take it. That's quite cool, right? So like you don't just palm the wounds off, and instead you like, yeah, this goes on those characters. I quite like that. That's pretty fun. I would pay a crisp $1,000 bill, apparently, says Wiggles, for a 4th attack on that profile. Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't hate him having +1 attack, right?
No, that would be cool.
Yeah.
To be fair.
So are you hitting, quitting? I'm going to hit. James?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in. He's a good lad. I think he does what he's supposed to, right?
Yeah. Nathan?
Yeah, I'll take him. I like him.
Smash.
Yeah, for them points. Yeah, he's cool.
I still think he deserves an extra wound. Sorry, an extra attack profile.
An extra attack, yeah. Either extra 1 attack or extra point of damage on his hammer.
I agree with that massively. Okay. Next up is the Cenari Lawseeker. Oh my goodness gracious me. So the Cenari Lawseeker. So Lawseeker is kind of an interesting one because you almost feel like his story isn't necessarily that he's a duelist character in some ways, not like the Light of Altharion will be, definitely fulfilled, but he definitely is. They've created quite a unique foot character in the Lawseeker. I quite like the Lawseeker. James? Oh, and as a model, sorry for the LRL, for people, he just looks like an elf with a sword and a stick. No difference.
And he's got a little stick with a moon on it.
Yeah.
You know, got a big hat.
They all have rubbish hats.
Cenari Law Seekers are Eclipsians souls with the potential to achieve true harmony between their Teklian and Tyrionic aspects. These war sages find great power in this, and they scour the realms for esoteric knowledge and artifacts that only the Lumineth can be entrusted with.
Okay. So they're not really bigging him up as being a big fighty guy, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty positive. Like they're not saying like, look, this guy's going to take on the world, and he does something a little bit more unique. But he does have 6 wounds with a 4-up armor save. His staff, which he shoots at people, is 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 2 damage, D3. But his blade is 4 attacks, hits on a 2.
Nice.
So that Saurus, who's been fighting for centuries, terrible. Yeah.
He's having a bad day. He was precise too.
Oh, yeah,
His words.
Precise Saurus.
Precise lad.
He wounds on a 3, and it's rend 1, damage D3. So way more damage than an assassin with his Lawseeker blade. Way more damage than an Old Blood with that giant maul. Damage D3 here. This is a better attack profile than the Doomseeker. But Doomseeker does have the ability to get up on damage, but yes. Then he's got a couple
He's half the points as well, the Doomseeker.
Yes, this guy's 160 points. I should have mentioned that. Thanks, James. Yeah, okay. So he's got a couple of special rules. He's got...
Oh, he's a wizard as well.
He is a wizard. Yeah, he's got a lot of value in there, right? He's got the ability, Lone Agent, to be set up on the board and basically control an objective when your opponent can't control an objective unless you kill the Lawseeker. So he's kind of got like a permanent objective secured unless you kill him, which is quite a powerful mechanic. And he can effectively just deploy anywhere on the board, which is really powerful. And then also, once per battle in your hero phase, this unit can attempt to cast its first spell in the phase. It's automatically cast with a roll of a 9, so you don't even need to roll like a dice. So he's got an auto cast on a 9. So he's got a lot of value in that 160 points outside of being a melee unit, but is like kind of an interesting melee unit. What do you think, Nath? Him as a unit?
Yeah, he's not like over the top when it comes to fighting and defense, but he's all right. But he's got like in the general game, he's certainly got some superb usage with his Lone Agent, and the fact that he's a decent wizard.
Yeah, he's interesting. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I think like he's got some play to him, right? He's got some play. He's kind of fighty, but really, you want those 4 attacks to be damaged too.
You do want those 4 attacks to be damaged too. What's interesting? Go on.
Then he'd be good. Like then I think I'd be like, oh, not only does he do a lot, but he also fights. Because like 2 for 8 damage, not bad. Not bad. 8 little damage, little lad. Fighting.
Yeah, you feel like you stick him on an objective, like 10 dudes run over, try and bop him.
Yeah.
Like, what's his armor save? He's got a 4-up armor save, unfortunately. So it's like a 6-up, 4-up. So 6 wounds on a 4-up armor save. He probably gets bopped by something quite quickly.
But if he bops first, he can maybe like kill enough that he lives, or kill enough that he doesn't have to worry about it. When it's D3 and you get them all through and then you roll 4 1s, not so good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So are you going to hit him or quit him? He feels like more of like a hero than maybe some of the other War Scrolls we've read, because he kind of feels like he's a wizard, he's a melee character, he holds this objective, he does this all kind of cool stuff. He feels like a mishmash of units.
He hasn't got his own spell, has he? So he has to take one from the law.
Yes.
And so they've changed that thing, so he doesn't... So it now only counts as 10 models when he's on an objective, instead of being like you can't contest it. So that's not nicer to play against than it used to be, I think. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he counts as 10 models now, right? Yeah. Yeah, so are you hitting him or quitting him as our kind of like duelist character?
He's sort of borderline. I think I'll go with hit him just.
Okay. James?
Yeah, I think he's a hit for me. I think he's a lot better than some of the other people we've seen, so he can stay for now.
But you don't necessarily feel he fits into like the duelist role.
I think if he was damage 2, I'd be super in. I think he's like, made him really good at hitting people, pretty good at wounding people, but really undecided on how well he hits people when he gets through.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, consistency is important, I think, and he has none.
He'd be like if you're playing the game where he's just going to go and fight against the other heroes that we choose, he's got because he's a wizard, he's got that little edge in that, so he can give himself a mystic shield, or he can give himself an arcane bolt, depending on who he's fighting against. So he has got that little bit of extra flexibility if it was like a one-on-one, let's have a fight sort of dude. So yeah, I think, but it is borderline because he's not. Well, I guess with his staff, so basically it's like 6 D3 attacks, 6 D3 damage attacks, which is not bad. So yeah, I think he's a hit for me.
Oh, perfect. All right, good. I'm gonna go for hit. You've really sold it to me, like kind of like cinema wise. I love the idea of him holding an arcane bolt, running in, launching that, then doing some chopping. That's pretty cool, actually. So yeah, I think he's a hit for me too. I think that's quite fun. But he's definitely not on like maybe the aggro end of the duelist. But he can hold his own. He's going to hold a little objective and then fight 10 dudes. It's kind of what I feel like I want from like my melee. From like at least like the very bottom end of my melee character up to Bastion, where he's like fighting dragons and stuff. Oh, you're gonna love this, James. We're back to the Fire Slayers. A Grimwrath Berserker is a small but very bearded bro with a massive two-handed axe with a flame cage inside of it, and this guy is covered in runes, but naked as the day is long. An awesome model, in my opinion, the Grimwrath Berserker. I think he's very fun. He, to me, is kind of that definition of like a unit that should be a wild melee character, naked, giant axe, big hair. What does
42 attacks.
Yeah, like just like a whirling dervish, like make an attack for every model within 3 inches. Yeah,
but hits his mates.
Yeah, hits his mates. He's just spinning. He's just a lunatic, right? Yeah. What does it say?
Right. The power of Grimnir burns strongest in the heart of Grimwrath Berserkers. Covered in glowing runes of gold, they are avatars of destruction and endurance, hurling themselves through battle in a living storm of blood and flame. 4-up save.
105 points. He's got 6 wounds on the 4-up save, and as James said, 6 wounds, 4-up save. He has now his Great Axe, his Firestorm Great Axe, is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, Rend 2, damage 2. In Battle Fury, at the end of the combat phase, if the unit is within 3 inches of an enemy unit and has fought no more than once in that phase, roll a dice. On a 2+, you can fight again. So he's got fight twice, basically, on a 2+. And then he's got dead but not defeated. In the combat phase, if the unit is destroyed and has not fought no more than once in that phase, then you can fight for a second time before it's removed. So he probably, on most situations, is going to fight twice, which takes his profile up to basically 8 attacks, 3s and 3s, Rend 2, damage 2. And it doesn't really matter if he dies, because he still gets to fight again.
Yeah, but then he's dead as well.
I guess so. It's like, I guess it's mutually assured destruction of 8 damage.
He's kind of a worse version of the other lad we already did.
You think he's worse than the Doomseeker? Why?
Because the Doomseeker had that kind of crazy rule, like, that was fun, where like he gets a bit beat up, he gets angry, he does more damage, but like he's specifically after one person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he had more interest to him, whereas this guy's like 20 more points. Kind of the same.
Yeah.
He's got loads better rend, but other than that,
yeah,
I don't think there's enough damage there to scare somebody.
Well, so as has been pointed out in the chat, there is an artifact you can take so that he can go up to doubling his attacks. So for one turn, he can have like 8 attacks, fight twice, 16 attacks, which is quite scary. But that does require you to take an artifact to do it, right?
Yeah, and we're not looking at Artifact.
No,
right?
no, we're not.
So, like, I don't think he's bad. I just think, like, is he better than the other lad?
I would
And
just,
I'm not sure
yeah.
he is.
The Battle Fury thing is cool, but I'd just be better if he didn't have that rule and he had 8 attacks. Fuck it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just have 8 attacks. Just be a big monster that does 8 attacks, right? Now, yeah, he's also the Grimwrath Berserker is also one of the quite an interesting model actually, because a lot of the allegiance ability, or not a lot, a section of the allegiance abilities for Fire Slayers are actually based around this one model. So around the vows, so you can actually build a bunch of different Grimwrath Berserkers that are trying to do different vows. So there's some cool mechanics around that built into the allegiance abilities, but not on his War Scroll. So we're not going to talk about it now, but he almost feels like the Grimwrath Berserker is almost set up to be this kind of like super character in the game because of all these additional bonuses, which I quite like. Like, you know, we sometimes have to read through like 13 command traits that are rubbish. And I know some people like a more stripped down book. I'm not saying I want loads, but I don't hate the idea that of there being some like special rules almost are tied to like a hero. Like you get big names on a tyrant where you like at the beginning of the game, you go, oh, like, yeah, I'm taking a captain of the Empire, but actually he's more of a gunsmith, so he gives like +1 to hit to shooting units around him, or
like the Admiral that could take the special ammunition, and then this.
Yeah.
If I take these grenades at the start of the game, I can choose to take these grenades, which take off your ward save, or I can use these grenades, which give everybody extra rend. Yeah, and that little bit of flexibility, that's cool.
Yeah,
be nice. Yeah,
and it doesn't feel like it's a lot to add into the game in a lot of ways. You're effectively giving them like a subclass as like a unit, aren't you? In some ways, you're just like it's kind of interesting. I know James has recently been playing the new Dark Tide game. Me and him have both been playing the new Dark Tide game. I think it's terrible. I think the actual game itself is like great, but like Nathan, just for you, you can't customize your character in almost any way. You basically just start the game, you have your dude. And then you've got like there's an ability that's on like an F on the keyboard that does a thing, and then you can play for like 60 hours and you'll never change that ability. Like, and you have like a melee attack, and then that never changes unless you change your weapon, and it's basically just hit. Like, is how I feel about it. James, feel free to push back on that as a review.
I think it's one of the. I always feel like we sometimes say like Warhammer's a game that you play with another person, and sometimes that makes it better.
Yeah.
I think Dark Tide's one of those games where you've got 3 other mates with you running around shouting at each other. It's kind of funny. Yes,
but just talking about like the customization and talking about heroes
is minimal. But I also think like there's that weird thing where you're playing with a bunch of mates, you end up with a weird bit of narrative in your own head. So the game might not give you those options, but sometimes you can make your own. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but like, yeah, I think the option to have like when you start the game, it gives you an option of like backstory and voice and whatever, but the effects it has is minimal.
That's fair.
It would have been nice to see them maybe like kick that into a bigger gear. Give me some choices along the way.
That's kind of what I mean by these characters, right? Like,
if they had those oath things, but put it on the War Scroll and just take that Battle Fury thing off, give them 8 attacks or 6 attacks, whatever.
Yeah, the dude's moves 4 inches. Make him just like an absolute. Like, if you go near him, you die, right? Like, that feels fair.
He's a Grimwrath Berserker, yeah.
Exactly. Rob's looking for RPG levels of character customization. I'm not really. I don't think. Like, also, you sell us a giant fucking book. I don't think it's that challenging to be like, here's a couple. Like, well, maybe I am. But maybe I'm just looking for something that's like a little bit more, like, even if it's, so command traits are a good example, right? Like, you go, right, +1 to your save. So then you immediately be like, well, I'm going to stick that on my Tree Lord Ancient or on my Durthu, because you already start on a 3-up armor save. I'm not going to give it to my, like, my 6-up armor save guy. But, like, if you had a bunch of, like, I don't know, Stormcast characters, probably a bad example, but like you had like some hero and you could give him any one of these customizations, there's probably a better optimization, but it gives you the opportunity to give some fun to us as players. I think what I'm trying to point out a lot of the way here is like there isn't actually much work done on a lot of these books or even rules. But anyway, okay, Garda Steel Soul, James. Gardas, the big guy. Yeah. Like Gardas. Yeah, Gardas is great. He is a superhero landing Stormcast guy with a skirt, maybe, lifted up.
Oh, no, it's his cape.
It's his cape, sorry. Okay,
Shoots hammer shooting cape.
Yeah. People in the chat saying Warhammer is always a balance between wargame and RPG, right? Sorry, Napgod. Yeah, like Darktide doesn't feel like it has any customization at all. It's just like you can literally change 5 things in Darktide. That's it. Like, as you level your character up, I do not know what the point of playing that game is, other than running around and being like, "Oh, I'm a big guy. I've got a shield." Like, I think it's a cool setting though. James, you like it, right?
Yeah, I think it looks great. Like, I think part of me just likes running around looking at it all.
Yeah, me too. It's
shooting some people on the way.
Yeah, it looks great. Looks really good.
Cinematic experience.
It is. All right, what about Gardas?
Gardas Steel Soul is the most revered Lord Celestant. So he's the best Lord of the Hallowed Knights. So only of one faction. And a veritable beacon of hope. In battle, he focuses his faith as a weapon to safeguard the innocent and smite Sigmar's enemies.
Oh boy. Okay. So Gardas as a unit. I've just realised this might take us ages, so I might speed us up a tad. 6 wounds with a 3-up armor save. 3-up. Okay. Now his weapon profile is 5 attacks in combat, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. He also has a Sigmarite war cloak, whatever the fuck that is, which fires hammers away from it, which is d6 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1. He's got a 5-up ward save and gives a 5-up ward save to units within 12 inches from the Hammers of Sigmar, which is pretty nuts. On a 2-up, if he's murdered, he gets to fight back. And then once per battle at the start of your charge phase, you can declare a Saintly Assault. If you do so until the end of that turn, you can reroll charge rolls for friendly Hallowed Knights within 12 inches and add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by those units. used by heroes in range. And all of that for 150 points.
So he's like half of a Bastion.
He's half.
Yeah, he's like a weird hero too, right? Because he's like a tank hero. Like all support. He brings a lot more support because he can't really fight that well. He
fights okay. 5 attacks and damage 2.
Rem 1, I think, is his biggest issue.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Ren 1. What would you like to see him just have Ren 2 just because he's a hero? And you feel like that they're probably quite special weapons. Like the blade, just looking at the model for everyone at home, is covered and etched in runes.
Yep.
Like you would expect that to like probably chop through some stuff via magic, right?
I think like it's that weird thing too, right? Like technically, if we're Stormcast bros, like if we are, right, our weapons aren't just like made in a town, are they? They're made in what is technically heaven. So like forged in the fires of heaven, and I've got the same rend as the Liberators.
Yes.
The most revered Lord Celestin of the entire Hallowed Knights.
Yeah.
So important. They've had books written about him. Here's a Liberator's hammer and a Liberator's sword. Good luck to you, son. Don't try and hit Nagash.
I agree with you, James. Like you almost feel like it's like a named relic weapon is what you're looking at, and it's pretty woeful, really. I honestly want. Go on.
Not even a name relic, right? You're just like, are you in charge now? Yeah, I'm not just in charge of like a few lads. I'm in charge of like most lads. Okay. Well, there's your standard sword, standard hammer. Good luck be with you, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck, kid. Good luck, kid. can I have Galmaraz? No, I'd rather have Bastion's hammer as it's better.
Yeah.
Like, if that's available, get me that. Wherever the Bastion hammer shop is, I'd like to go there.
Where they made those, yeah.
I mean, the guy is a support piece ultimately. Like, he's packed with value. He gives a 5-up ward to everyone around him, which is pretty amazing for 150 points. Like, this guy's like 30 points more than the Sunblood, if you remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Game over.
like it's a
Game over.
because I'm not sure this guy's great, like as a fighter hero,
Yeah.
but he's so much better than a veteran of 1,000 years.
Battles. Yeah. He also just like as an aside, he obviously features a lot in tournament and competitive lists because that 5-up ward bubble is like such a value scale. Like it gives so much like scalable value to a army. Like you take 8 dragons and you're like, okay, they also now have a 5-up ward save. You're like, it's pretty good. Like they weren't pointed as having a 5-up ward save, so he brings a lot of value to him. He's an obvious hit as a unit, but mainly because of the value he brings versus his actual melee attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The melee attack's all right, but he is quite tanky. He's more of the paladin role, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, you're right, Nathan. He's more of a paladin, right?
Yeah, in that role, and yeah, he does do the helping out the rest of the army. I quite like him as a dude that he is. For me, it would be a hit.
Me a hit too, James.
Yeah, let's hit him.
Let's hit him and never quit him. All right, okay. Now we're on to the bad boy. Yeah, this is like prime, maybe top category level. The Light of Altharion. By the way, when I was going through the store, earlier. Yeah, so much Age of Sigmar stuff is sold out. Like Gore Grunters are sold out. Like tons is missing.
I went to a Middle Earth strategy battle tournament on the whole weekend.
Yeah,
at the home of Warhammer. The
World.
place it's made.
Yeah.
Could you buy models? No. So I went and looked for fancy models, none of them in stock. We were debating it at a table, and some lad went, "Oh, you think that's bad?" I was looking for 3 boxes of goblins and 2 boxes of dwarves, just warriors, just the average plastic lads.
Yeah.
None.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Nothing. Not a model.
Wow. Yeah, so much is missing off the store at the minute. It's nuts. Yeah. Okay, so the Light of Altharion. So he's an LRL model. If no one knows, he's a hollow suit of armor.
It's a nice model.
It's a really cool model, absolutely. A hollow suit of armor, and he's got 2 swords, and he's definitely like contender for like melee specialist in the game, I think. Yeah, go on. Go on, James.
A legendary ancestor of the Lumineth race. The Light of Altharion is a something warrior.
Pussy, sant.
Pussant. Yeah.
Warrior who has become one with the energies of Hish.
Yeah.
To face him is to face the power of light itself made manifest. I mean, that's a claim, right? Yeah. And few have survived an encounter with his grim enchanted blades.
This is kind of like my vibe. Like, I feel like, why aren't there more, like, you almost feel like there needs to be like a goblin assassin, an ogre that's like, oh shit, like the ogre fighter dude is on the board, like a mini, because even the monsters aren't really that scary. Ogre monsters are scary, but this is the guy, in my opinion. So he's got 8 wounds with a 3-up armor save. And again, it's quite clear, by the way, this is all 240 points. It's quite clear they understand that like 5 wounds isn't enough for your melee character to do well, right?
Because he's got 8.
So he's got 8 wounds with a 3-up armor save. His damage profile attack is he's got 2 swords. He's got the Fang Sword of Altharion, which is 4 attacks, hits on a 2, wounds on a 3, and is rend 3, damage 3.
Nice.
Right, yeah, fuck yeah. And then the Kalinari Blade, which is like his kind of dagger, which is 2 attacks, 2s and 3s again, but it's only rend 1, but it's still damage 3. So in total, he's got 6 attacks, which are damage 3. Yeah, very good, right? And then he's got
18 damage output.
Right? Like, And he definitely is going to go womp on an objective and be like, I'm fighting here now. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is an issue. And then he's got the Canary Blade special rule, which is at the start of the combat phase, pick an enemy hero monster with 3 inches. And if you do so, attacks made by this unit's blade that target that hero monster have a damage characteristic of 2d3 instead of 3.
Nice.
So you could actually technically roll lower than 3, but could be up
That
to
is
6.
true.
So question is whether or not you actually want to keep that. And then he's got the Fang
You
Sword of...
have to do it.
At the start of the combat phase, you can pick.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then Fangs of Altharion, add 1 to the wounds rolls for attacks made by this unit's Fangs of Altharion if they made a charge move this turn, so it's going to be 2s and 2s. In addition, if the unmodified wound roll for an attack made by this unit's Fang Sword is a 6, the attack causes an additional mortal wound, so even more output coming in. Which is pretty good. In the shooting phase, you can pick an enemy within 18 inches of this unit, and on a 1 nothing happens. On a 2 to 4, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 5, it suffers D6 mortal wounds. So he literally shoots a star at you across the board. And then he's also got he ignores modifiers, positive or negative, to his save. So he's got a 3-up unrendable save. And then he's got the Supreme Swordmaster, ignore negative modifiers when making hit rolls for attacks made by this unit. In addition, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by this unit is a 6, the attack scores 2 hits instead of 1. So he's got exploding 6s. You can't make him -1 to hit or -1 to wound. Only to the hit rolls. You can make him -1 to wound. He's got an unrendable 3-up armor save. He doesn't have a ward save.
He halves damage as well.
And he does half damage. Yeah, I was about to get to that. Yeah, he halves damage coming into him. So he's great, right? Yeah. So, overall, obviously a very good melee character. And he's 240 points. It's kind of it never makes it into any lists I've ever seen for LRL. And I think other armies would rip their arms off to be able to get hold of this unit. I think in many ways. Yeah,
he's a weird for Lumineth Realm Lords who are about controlling a board, right? And here's a hero that wants to womp up the board and fight.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Or you could have 10 Sentinels at the back shooting the entire board and doing some damage output too
for less points.
Yeah.
Yeah. You move 6 inches, so you're absolutely right. Yeah, he doesn't provide any utility other than his role as a duelist, which I think is interesting. So even at the points value he's at and the utility that we see as a duelist character, he doesn't do enough that LRL players generally justify putting him in. Whereas Gardas is one of those ones where you're like, yeah, of course, because he upscales a unit army around him. So but then there is almost 100 points difference between the two, which is kind of interesting. So I hit this guy. He's great, but also weirdly never makes it into army lists, which is super weird.
Well, yeah, if you're playing the dueling game, then this guy is pretty much the dueler personified. But yeah, in the wider scheme of the game, where you've also got the armies to consider, then he's maybe does less for the rest of the army. But as a standalone piece, he's pretty sweet, isn't he?
And I also feel like if you just yeeted 20 bliss barbs at him, he just dies in a turn. Which is that's 340 points. So that's again 100 points on top of his price point. But you know what I mean? You can just give him 20 wound dice and be like, "You might die now, kid." You've got to fail 5 3-ups and you're likely to die. So he weirdly isn't actually that survivable, even though he looks survivable on paper, and maybe that's because of his movement.
Well, yeah, it's taken him a long time to get anywhere, right?
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to keep him?
Oh, yeah, for the duelist role, yes.
Yeah.
He's
staying. He is staying.
All right, next up, maybe the crown prince of the duelist role.
Oh, he's already got him open.
He's got chaps on. His name's Sigvald, and he's the Prince of Slaanesh, and he's 205 points of raw power. What do you think, James?
So 30 points cheaper than the Light of Altharion as a star.
Yeah. 30 points cheaper.
Sigvald the Magnificent considers himself to be the favoured son of Slaanesh. Few would dare question this belief. In battle, the Geld Prince fights as a golden blur, laughing cruelly as his elegant blade tears through rabble and champions alike.
Talk to me about his profile, James.
So he has Shard Slash, that's what his sword's called, with 1 inch range, because he has got a duelist blade, basically.
Yeah, he does.
It has
as a model, he just looks like a Spanish kind of like conquistador, like kind of like duelist, right? He's got the big long blade. He's got the almost parry style shield. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. He's got a random amount of attacks that we'll come to in a minute. Hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, -2 rend, and D3 damage.
Yeah.
So his ability, Glorious Reborn. So he fights at the start of the combat phase, so before everyone else, unless there's another rule. And if he made a charge move in the same turn, so he fights at the start of the combat phase. If he charges in the same turn, he can't fight again in the phase unless a spell or ability allows him to. He adds 3 to his charge rolls, and in addition to that, his attack characteristic is either 5 or equal to the unmodified charge roll made for the model in the same turn, whichever's higher. So he's getting +3, but that doesn't actually matter. Whatever we roll on 2 dice is how many attacks he does, but he always does at least 5.
Yeah. You see him taking a lot of lists just because that +3 to charge means he's a great deep strike option. Because then it's just a 6-inch re-rollable thanks to a command ability charge. So that's really effective.
Any wounds he does can't be negated. So he chops through ward save heroes like butter.
Yep.
And his shield gives him a 4 at ward.
His shield gives him a 4 at ward. Yeah, it's crazy. So he ends up on a 6 wounds on a 3 up save and a 4 up ward.
But he's 6 wounds.
Yeah, I mean, a 4 up ward means he's really 12 wounds.
Okay.
Like that, because you do the armor save, then you do the ward save. So I feel like he's a lot more survivable than maybe you give him. And he's very cheap though. He's 205 points.
Yep, 155 cheaper than Bastion Cathalos.
Yeah. Do you think with Altharion, like the Light of Altharion, sorry, do you think he's just too expensive? Do you think that 240 price point? If you were like, right, he's 180 points.
He's too slow, I think. But I think if you could womp him up the board, he's pretty fighty.
But at what price point would you want him to be where you're like, yeah, I'm just going to bang him in the list because he's going to just guard an objective or just run around and be a menace or like...
I don't know. Like as you go through it, like he's technically, like he does more damage than Bastion Cathalos does, like fighting. And Bastion Cathalos is more expensive.
Are you talking about Sigvald?
No, Light of Altharion.
Light of Altharion. Yeah, he's pretty punchy. Yeah, Nathan, what about you? Do you think Altharion is just too expensive points-wise?
He probably is a little bit on the expensive side because he doesn't do anything else to the rest of the army. He's not a buffing piece, is he?
No.
Other than the basic command abilities. So he is just a standalone unit. It's not like he's any better at doing the controlling the prime objectives or anything like that either.
Nope.
Like a law seeker. So yeah, just as a fighter, I would have thought he'd be closer to Sigvald, but I mean Sigvald is then in the Slanesh book, which is probably why he's cheaper because they're just all a bit crapper.
They are all a bit crapper. I agree.
I mean, it's probably then you're looking at the rest of the book, like the free rules that come with the book, so the allegiance abilities and spell laws and stuff like that. And that's possibly why Sigvald is cheaper than the Light of Altharion.
Yeah, that's fair. So Sigvald, hit or quit? That's the real question, chat. James?
Oh, he's a hit.
He's a hit, definitely. A lot of output. Nathan?
Yeah, he's a decent fighter, isn't he? So, yeah, he's a hit.
He's a duelist that wants to go and punk duelists that don't want to die from a ward save.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
and
he
he's quite
ignores
tanky.
he ignores ward saves, right? Like with his attack.
Yeah.
I feel like he's literally what you want as a unit, almost in a lot of ways. You almost want those duelists to be like, you can't have ward saves, like just turn them off. That's quite fun. Yeah, I think he's great, and he's a big hit. Maybe one of the better duelists in the game. Oh boy. Next up, we're going over to Skaven. Okay. And we got a Claw Lord, my friend. Okay, we got a Claw Lord. Now, he is armed with 2 pretty savage-looking weapons. He's covered in chainmail and plate armor across himself, but he is carrying like a bunch of sticks on his back, which honestly looks unwieldy. Like, it looks very complicated to wear. So this is the Claw Lord for Skaven. James, how does it describe him?
Verminous Claw Lords are powerful fighters and cunning leaders, exhorting their chittering followers to overrun the enemy lines. They are most dangerous when caught at bay, for they will fight for their lives with frantic ferocity.
110 points. 5 wounds with a 4-up save.
Nice.
A Claw Lord is armed with a warp forged blade, and get ready, you're going to be quite surprised. 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. It's pretty good, isn't it? It's like
That's
a profile.
not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. He's got add the number of wounds allocated to this unit to the attacks characteristic of this unit's melee weapons. So if he goes down to having 1 wound, then he's going to have 10 attacks. 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. And then he's got the Gnash Gnaw on their bones. Uses command ability when you pick a friendly Clan Verminous unit. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of that unit's melee weapons in that phase. I think actually I'm going to go out on a limb and say Claw Lord not bad. He's pretty good in a fight. He gets more fighty as he goes on, and then also he makes his army around him better. So I think pretty good, right?
Oh yeah, as a piece in the game, he's got interesting rules. If you're taking Clans Verminous units, like not Storm Vermin, the dudes with the spears, what are they called? Storm Vermin, yeah.
Storm Vermin, yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
or Clan Rats.
Yeah. What do you think, James? What are your thoughts? 110 points.
I think he's a lot better than you'd expect to be, maybe. And he's okay fighty, but he ain't gonna get very far across the board, is he?
Probably not, no. But like, there's some good options in the books, like to do things like stacking like Death Frenzy on him, so when he dies, he can come back, which is quite fun. I quite like that as well. He does have like the Skaven special rule that where he has Lookout Sir in melee.
No, that's cheating though. Not doing that one.
I agree.
It's Justice War Scroll.
Yeah, Justice War Scroll. Nathan, what do you think?
So as a duelist, I mean, for the points, he's probably worth it. I mean, he wouldn't stand up toe to toe against like the likes of Altharion or Sigvald, would he? But he'd probably be all right against your Doomseeker.
I mean,
this guy could have a fun fight.
Yeah, I think he's good. I'm going to hit him. That's what I'm going to say. Hit. James?
Definitely a hit.
Nath?
I'd say borderline, but I'll go with hit, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right, not bad. All right, next up is we get staying in Skaven, and we go to an Arch Warlock. Now, Arch Warlock's kind of like, I don't know. We maybe skip him. Hello, Phil Spriggers. What's up?
I'm not sure he's a duelist. He's a wizard.
He is, and a shooter, but he's actually quite good in a fight. All right, we'll put him as the leader role, and we'll just get rid of him. That's fair. Okay, the Dark Oath Chieftain. We can maybe just like. Is he meant to be like a command character, and therefore not a duelist? The Dark Oath Chieftain.
He's nothing. Right?
I mean, he's got massive legs. Nothing. He's got
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything.
he's got a giant.
Really good at standing.
This guy has eaten so much liver you wouldn't even imagine. This is the Liver King level of like model in Age of Sigmar. He's got a giant broadsword and a massive axe. He's even got a massive dagger. He's got 2 shoulder pads, one of which has got a blade on, the other's got a horn on. Like, my guy is like here to fuck, is what I'm saying. But does he fuck? What do you think?
No.
Oh.
Right. Well, the problem is, like, he can probably. It's going to be a real struggle to use both that axe and that big sword at the same time.
Nah, not when you've got thighs that hypnotise like that.
Yes. He is absolutely dripping in muscle.
That sword just goes between, like, he puts it between his knee, closes his knee, and spins. One low blade, one high blade, kills everything. And then you read his stat line and you go, oh, this guy's rubbish.
Yeah,
I tried really hard when I did a Slaves to Darkness list several years ago to have him and the Dark Oath War Queen in my list. And even at 85 points, it was impossible because they're just useless.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts. Let's not even read the story. Let's just give you the stats. 6 wounds with a 5-up armor save, and he is pretty naked, so it makes sense. He's 85 points, and then his Warlord Axe, which we can see there, which is pretty good. Is 1 attack.
That's because he can't swing both.
3s and 3s. No rend damage 1. However, his cursed broadsword, boo. His cursed broadsword is 3 attacks, hits on a 4, wounds on a 3, rend 1, damage 2. If you charge, you add 3 to the amount of attacks that they have. And at the end of the combat phase, if any models were slain by this model in that phase, each unit within 1 inches of this model suffers a mortal wound. So it's just 1 axe. What did you expect? That's a great question. That's a good point, chat. Hello, Coots. Good morning. So yeah, he's dying to that Claw Lord, lols. He is dying to the Claw Lord. So yeah, we quit this guy, right?
Yeah, he's passed.
But this
it's on 4s.
Yeah.
As well. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
He gets 6 attacks the turn he charges, but he ain't going to be alive to finish.
But this is kind of like my absolute poster child for the problem I'm trying to discuss with you guys. Is what you have is an £18 model from Games Workshop, single, 1 model, for this guy who clearly looks like he's here to absolutely fuck shit up. Like, you put him in a gladiator ring and he's fighting off all sorts of giant beasties and all sorts of other people, and he's got an attack. Like,
and he probably loses to a Blight King.
He definitely loses to a Blight King.
Not 5, just 1.
Yeah. So, like, this is the really disappointing spectrum of Age of Sigmar, which, like, is sad because you could add so many cool rules to the game to make this guy super fun, or to this War Scroll, and it just isn't. So big quit on him, which is sad because some of these character models are like the absolute tits. James, you said when you collected like this range, you really wanted to play him because he looks awesome.
I own one of him because he was originally in Silver Tower.
Yes.
So I own one because I own that. And I was like, it's such a cool model. I painted it for that. I made a Slaves to Darkness army. I was like, I can get this in. It was all those Marauders. I was like, it narratively fits, right?
Yeah.
And there was him and the War Queen who came out in Malign Portents. And I've always loved that model. And I think I wrote about 14 lists with them in. And every time I had them in there, I was like, but they're just toilet. Like, they're 85, 90 points each. And for 5 points more, I could have a bunch of Marauders that actually do something. He's the poster child for why we're doing this show, basically. Great model, terrible. Talking about another poster child for why we're doing this show. Fantastic miniature, in my opinion. The Lord of Pain from the Hedonites of Slaanesh. A brand new sculpt released last year. He's got a tactical rock, but he is definitely like a melee foot character, covered in armor and all sorts of creepy bits. Has a jagged blade sticking out of his armor at the back, and he's carrying a 2-handed dual mace club sort of thing. It's like a 2-handed mace, I think, with like massive
spikes.
So wicked soul piercer mace.
Yeah, okay, good. Wicked soul piercer mace. All right, James, tell us the story, because this has got to be good.
Lords of Pain are champions of Slaanesh who have sampled countless vices and excesses. Armed with wicked soul piercer maces, they lead war bands of devoted followers and are always eager to demonstrate their mastery of all forms of agony.
Ooh, okay. It's
This
disappointment.
goes bringing the hurt.
Yeah, it's disappointment, my agony. So he's 140 points
Okay.
with a 5 wounds with a 4-up save. Okay. Doesn't have a ward save. So there's that. And then...
Yeah, he does.
He does
No,
have...
it's got a 5 up.
It's a 5-up. He likes the pain.
He does. He does have a ward save, 5-up ward save. And then in addition, each time a
Oh,
wound...
and it reflects wounds as well. So the
Yeah.
ones that he saves get reflected. That's quite cool.
Yeah, so every 5-up ward save you make, you bash a wound back, which is quite fun. That's quite narrative. And his big
But
soul...
only in combat.
Only in combat.
Yeah, melee weapons, yeah.
So then his Soul Piercer Mace is 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. And he also has got Paragon of Depravity. Pick. You can use his command ability in the combat phase. Pick one friendly mortal Hedonite unit wholly within 12 inches model. You can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by that unit in this phase. So he does have a kind of support role for him. So 4 up armor, 5 up ward, and then 5 attacks that are damage 2. Hit, miss, or would you like to see something change to make this guy a little bit more viable?
Like, his weapon is like borderline okay. Especially if he just puts his command ability on himself or rerolling to hit. It's quite nice.
Yes.
I mean, he's not going to be doing that. He'll be putting that on a proper unit of fighters. But if you were playing the one-on-one dueling game, then he would obviously put it on himself. So he seems, I think he's all right. He's a little bit squishy. Only 5 wounds with a 4-up save, but I would say he's a hit for me.
I think if he's
As
fighting
a jeweler.
I think he's like a miss for me because I feel like he needs to be damage 3. Like it's rend 1.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean that mace looks like it should be damage 3, but
yeah, like
that.
rend 2,
But
damage 3.
He's not been to the gym. He's not swinging it that hard.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It's called the Soul Piercer. Like you could just say it's got a magic touch. Like as soon as it touches you, it steals your soul. There you go. There's your magic. Like that's your story done. And it's damage 3 because it's 3 damage.
You could just headbutt people and let that spike stick into them.
Exactly. Like he's going. Why has he got an extra attack that's like headbutt, and just that giant stick in his back stabs people? So I would and he also isn't that survivable. So I would really like to see him have more output. I think for me. So he's a miss for me because I want more output.
Well, the Lord of Pain's going to the final.
Oh,
Giving him a hit. I think
he's got a 5-up ward save.
140 points with a 5-up ward is better than some of the other turd we've put in.
Oh yeah, he'd take that Doomseeker to town.
Yeah. So let's
Give
give
him a good scene, too.
pass. Yes.
The next one is the Aspiring Deathbringer. Okay, hear the words I'm saying. Aspiring Deathbringer with Gorax and Skullhammer. Okay, he is a pretty fully armored Khorne hero with a giant axe in his right hand, and then, as pointed out, a skull hammer in his other hand. He looks badass, in my opinion. Covered in armor. James, tell us about this guy.
Through constant battle and unremitting slaughter, an aspiring Deathbringer fights his way to glory. Even as his axe bites through flesh, the fell champion screams the boring god's praise, urging the bloodbound to overrun the enemy and carve them apart.
Oh boy.
Red has written that.
What, you've just written that?
No, I read that exactly as it was written.
Okay, all right. So the Aspiring Deathbringer, James, tell us his stats.
How many weapons does he have?
He's got
with
loads.
one of the following weapons. So he can have an
guy.
axe and a hammer, or an axe and a hammer. Okay, so he can have a blood axe and a wrath hammer. So he's either
Don't bother reading any
3
of
attacks.
the
No,
This guy, the
either
clue is in the
3
name.
attacks.
He's aspiring because.
In fact,
got there. That's for sure.
In fact, you'd never build him with the first combination because it's the worst combination. So he's 3 attacks and 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rem 1 damage,
Boo.
4s and 3s, no rem 1 damage.
Boo.
If an enemy unit fails a battle shock test within 3 of them, D3 more run away.
But I mean, that's good.
It's just
You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. You can add 1 to the characteristic of melee weapons used by Khorne mortal units in a bubble.
It's actually really good,
That's
by the way,
alright.
to ally him into Slaves to Darkness, because you can get up to some crazy attack profiles with that. Just as a side note, so as a buff,
But then you'd have to play Khorne. And
no,
you'd
you
have to
don't.
say
You just
blood
got
to the
you're
blood guards.
playing Slaves to Darkness with the mark of Khorne, slightly different, James.
Yeah, but then you're a crane.
Yeah, he's 80 points. He looks incredible as a miniature. The one on the app doesn't look as good as the one on the screen. But I mean, he's such a miss. And he's also, by the way, the first Khornate character we've looked at. Like, there's nothing but melee characters in the Khornate book.
he's aspiring. He's definitely not got there yet.
Level
Pass.
1. Right, he'll get more kills. Okay, yeah, he quit him, but like it's
Double
worth.
pass.
But it's worth
No,
talking
pass.
about how atrocious he is.
Yeah, he's
Those
garbage.
weapons are absolute.
But he also
They're
looks like
worse.
he has a profile of a Liberator from 2020 or whenever the original box came out.
He's got the worst I mean, a sneaky snuffler's probably got a better weapon profile than that guy. He's absolute rubbish.
I'd love to. Let's have him versus some sneaky snufflers at some point and see who wins.
I'd like to be really clear. You know, like if that, like in competitive Age of Sigmar, if this guy just had 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 2, damage 3, and then another attack that was like 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 1, damage 4 even, he would still never get taken. Because he's like, this guy does nothing. It's so funny. He's trying, Nathan. It's his first day. That's what Coots says.
Yeah, he is trying.
Okay. Yes, my boy.
Aspiring, trying.
One of the most difficult words to say. The Ogroid Thummerturge.
He's a wizard.
James, he's only a 1-cast wizard. I feel like he's more...
He's got a brother that's a brawler.
No, this guy's more of a non-wizard than he is a wizard. 1-cast is not even a wizard, really. In Tzeentch terms. Okay. Tell me about the Ogroid. What's the story on the Ogroid?
You'll have to fill for a second.
Okay,
to-
no.
I'll read it for you.
there
Combining
you go.
bestial strength with occult powers, the Ogroid Thaumaturge is a deadly foe. With snarled invocations, it hurls blasts of fiery energy into the enemy ranks before stampeding into their midst to pummel the survivors to a bloody ruin.
Okay, so he's got 8 wounds with a 4-up armor save. He is a wizard, so he casts 1 spell. He's 175 points for this bad boy. Yeah. And he's got 8 wounds and a 4-up armor save. So 8 wounds, 4-up armor save. No ward save. So he dies pretty quick. And then he's got 3 profile attacks. He actually got 1 profile attack taken away from him in the update. So it's 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage D3. That's what he's got. And then he's got Cloven Hooves, 4 attacks. So he's got Great Horn attacks. So 3 attacks that damage D3. Great Horns are 2 attacks that are 3s and 3s, rend 2, damage 3. And then he's got Cloven Hooves, which are 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, no rend, damage
Boo.
1.
Boo.
Boo. Yeah, Cloven Hooves. I mean, he's got 5 attacks that damage 3 or D3. And then he's got Berserk Rage, add 1 to the hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by melee weapons by this unit. If any wounds or mortal wounds were allocated to this unit earlier in that phase. So +1 to hit and wound rolls. But then he has to get hit.
in that phase, yeah.
Yeah, he has to get hit first, right? And then he's got Choking Tendrils, which is a spell, which is D6 mortal wounds. So
Oh,
he's
that's
like,
all right.
so I've looked at this unit a lot because I play Zinch, and you look at the profile and you're like, 175 points is 3 enlightened. Like, and I know he's a wizard, so he can cast a spell, and he has a unique D6 mortal wound spell, so that's pretty unique. And he's immortal, but ultimately, 175 points is 3 enlightened. Why wouldn't you take 3 enlightened ever if you're talking about raw melee output, right?
Oh yeah.
James, what are your thoughts?
I always think this guy's a cool model, and like he's kind of fighty, and he should be right. Like he's a hench like ball guy. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a hench beastman fella.
Yeah,
That's our beastman.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, as a duelist, he's fairly threatening, but
Rob going narcissistic there. Zooming on his face.
Yeah, press the wrong button. It's just so used to doing that in the day shows. Yeah, exactly. I think I would quit this guy because I feel like he dies ultra fast. It's 8 wounds with a 4-up save. Like, if I gave you that as just a unit, I was like, look, you got 8 bodies on a 4-up armor save for 175 points, you'd be like, nah. Like, this guy's going to just die.
Yeah, I think. We've seen some 4-up saves. I'm gonna hit him. I think I'm gonna see where he gets. He's
Okay.
a duelist now. He's gonna hit someone in the face.
Okay. Nathan?
yeah, let's see him in a fight then.
Okay.
I still think he's better than a Doomseeker.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Right, now, it's been a couple of hours, 2.5 hours, in fact, and then there are still a shit ton to go. Most of which is shit. You got a Beast Lord, for instance. We haven't talked about Valkyria. We haven't talked about the Exalted Deathbringer, different to the Aspiring Deathbringer. Also shit. We haven't talked about there's another Deathbringer. Skulltaker. He does not take skulls. Radikar. Vampire Lord. As an example, there's a bunch of vampires. Now, Kado is one who definitely would be one that we would talk about. Kado is probably like one of the most and best duelist characters in the game at the minute, which I think Kado Ezekar, the Hollow King, he's actually really fantastic as a vampire model. Then you've got Kritzer, who isn't and is pretty rubbish. You got Gutrot Spume, that's a good point in the chat. Then you got Savage Big Bosses, War Chanters, Scragrot, I guess, but not really. Loon Boss and Giant Cave Squig, Mega Boss on foot, and also the Dankhold Trug Boss, and many more. And there's so many that I think that we don't necessarily have time to go through them all tonight. So we'll definitely
42.50 for a Trug Boss.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. I don't know what to tell you. It's pretty rough out there.
42.50.
Yeah.
It's not even that big.
No, they're pretty diddy, aren't they?
Yeah.
How is it? Hang on. How is a Dankhold Trug Boss 42 quid, but a Sludge Raker like 26 quid?
Yeah, I don't know. The pricing is done by just cutting the head off a chicken and it runs around. Yeah, there's also the Tyrant for Ogres. There's a Tyrant for Ogres as well. So there's like some real good conversations about some like other units. But we'll revisit that.
Mega Boss.
Yeah, we'll revisit this ongoing list. And I would love to know what everyone else's kind of like top pick is. Because I think we've already learned some really interesting things from this show. Bodyguard rules would be really cool. We would prefer more expensive units than we would prefer cheaper units. Like I think like in the Colosseum of duelists, we would even like different like unit types like Paladin and Assassin versus just an out and out frontline kind of like brawler character, which I think is interesting. And we've also identified, I think by going through this, a bunch of misses where it's clear they haven't really written any rules at all, which feels like some big disappointment, I think, in a lot of ways. James?
Well, there's some inconsistencies as well with like veteran Sunbloods and Old Bloods hitting on 4s, like clumsy old bloody dinosaurs. Come on, wake up.
Yeah, not good at all. Versus like dudes who just always hit on 2s and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they definitely know how to write the rules for stuff that's good, but then they don't necessarily transfer that across. James, you got anything you picked up from this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think like I won't go into too much detail, but like I think like going back to having played Middle Earth for a whole weekend, one of the interesting things is the heroes are only normally like the low level ones are only normally slightly better than like some of the better units, but what they have is like abilities and weird stats in that don't exist in Age of Sigmar, which is might, will, and fate, and those like give every hero a ward save in fate, but might gives them like the ability to manipulate dice. So not only do they have like utility in the game in maybe like a rule like we would, and by being slightly better, but they also have like the ability to manipulate their own kind of destiny as a hero. So they can like make a dice roll better or worse to help them. They can every one of them pretty much can shrug a wound, at least one in the game. So I think there's like some ability to that, which maybe is missing off like some of those characters we've looked at, where basically we're like, you have a rubbish save, you're going to get shot by some troop and die before you get anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. It's like honestly sounds like there's so much more you could do with heroes in game, and I guess they've done something with heroic actions, but it feels like pretty weak sauce. Anyway, like I think just a great ongoing conversation that we can continue, which we're going to do. Any shout outs, James and Nathan, before we head out today?
I'm going to shout out Ewan from Bugman's Bar, who I saw this weekend. He randomly gave me a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then when I looked sad, Emperor Palpatine.
Perfect.
Big shout.
I fucking love that guy.
Nice lad.
Nathan?
I'm going to shout out Ewan from Bugman's Bar, just because I like that guy a lot.
I'm going to shout out Ewan from Bugman's Bar because he's actually the captain of my gaming club here at the local arena. So I'm going to shout him out. I'm going to also shout out the Twitch chat. Thanks for tuning in. You're all great. Shout out to everyone who watches it. If you listen to the podcast, stay hydrated. And if you are watching back on YouTube, leave comments and all that other stuff. Thanks very much, chat. Hope you had a lovely evening tuning in to AOS Monday Show. Monday Show won't be back next week because I'll be traveling back from Boston. So yeah, I know, right?
Teaching people all that Xenophil highlighting stuff.
Exactly. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. Whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If you're in America, you live in America, if you're listening to the podcast, if you want to just go to America, you should buy a ticket to Rob's painting thing. Can't remember any of the details, dates, or rules.
It's at the Everwinter GT on Friday.
There you go. Buy a ticket.
Not even Saturday. Friday.
Buy a
You'd
ticket.
be too late if you went on Saturday.
Bye, chat. Loads of love. Bye.